Well, hello, boys and girls. This is when we feel like 8 o'clock. I'm Pearl of Wisdom, and you're listening to our NHL Pearls of Wisdom coming to you live from what the heck has happened? I
What
can't
happened?
I can't see you in the stream at all. It's just a big thing of me. That's it. What the heck is going on there? Why isn't it showing that? Here, let me share screen with you on.
No, it has me. And it has the me in the
Does
stream
it?
on here.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, all right. I don't need to see, I guess. Uh, hello, boys and girls. Here we are again at Pearls of Wisdom Industries. We are in connection or in conjunction with WWW Steel Flyers, the All Sports Network. Um, so I just had an alarm go off. Sorry. We are. This is Joe. This is Pro Joe. This is Professor Joe Boric from SteelFlyers.com as well. For all of our fine programming that we do, that includes John from Off the Wall Hockey, Peyton on the radio, Flyers Nitty Gritty. What else is there? O&B podcasts, all of that stuff.
Sports fanatic news for my
Sport,
stuff. Yeah.
Sports Fanatic News. Hey, NHL News Reports, welcome. Hopefully you can see both of us in the stream because I only see a big picture of my head. That's it. But I don't know why.
I can see us. I have it on right now to follow the
Okay,
live,
it looked really
chat, and
weird.
I can see both
And
of us. Yeah.
Mikhail, the Raptors, Bills, and Habs fan. How you doing, my friend? Welcome to the live. Now we're going to talk about last night's games, some of the things that are going on. We may get into tonight's games if we have time, because you know how we are. We like to just kind of ramble on about stuff. Joe, yeah,
Like
so
yesterday, for example.
like every day, for
Yeah.
example. You did see me on John's stream. Yes, you did. I'm going to be doing more of those too. Yeah. Hab fan in the
Yeah,
room.
soon I'm going to be hopping on to get some experience with that too. He said I can hop on sometime when I reached out to him. So that's another thing our whole Steel Flyers crew is a part of, hopping on to John's streams to be basically the color commentator when he's the head announcer or calling the games, is a way to
Yeah,
put it.
that's for sure. We love doing that. John is the goat when it comes to that kind of stuff. He's freaking awesome at it. I don't know how he does it. I've sat there and tried to sit in front of the TV and do what he does, and I'm just like, first of all, I'm dead by the time my throat dies halfway through. He's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's go last night's game and talk about some of the happenings. Why don't we go into the one that John was doing? Unfortunately, we died out in the third. OBS went crazy on him or something. I don't know what it was, but you were listening to that game, Joe, right? And Penguins are injured all the heck. They have like no defensemen left.
Yeah, Dumoulin's now on LTIR, who's probably the most consistent defensive that just defend somebody straight up defenseman, where Letang's the most consistent, obviously, overall defenseman. But yeah, I mean, when you have just Chris Letang in and I think Marino's still in, right? Or is he injured too?
Yeah, Marino, no, he's there. Marino's doing all right
He's
still.
still in.
He's
Okay, so yeah, you have
surviving. Yeah.
Marino and Letang, and other than that, you have guys that are not as consistent as those two. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. The defense already struggled a bit. Albert Joseph has looked better, forced up earlier than he should have been, than I thought he would in some facets, but he shouldn't be playing on your top line at this point of his career like he did last night. So it's a unfortunate situation for them. But we talked about Pittsburgh yesterday, and they're just not in the best spot overall. And once injuries hit, they don't have the depth they once had, especially at the defensive position. So that's really where they're at. They're just in a struggling spot right now, and Yari has not been good to start the year. I'm not saying he's not going to go back to what he was, but he's been one of the worst goalies to start this season.
Yeah, Jari, I don't, every time I watch that, I don't see a bad goaltender. I just see a goaltender playing behind really bad defense. Um, like his reactions seem okay. It's not like he's, in fact, that game last night, Shesterkin played the best game he's played all year. He's been struggling too. But the first goal, I don't know what the heck he was doing. He was like it was about 3 feet wide, and he went chasing it like a 5-year-old after a butterfly for some reason. I don't know what the heck he was doing, and it bounced off the boards, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I got to get in the net, right?" And he was nowhere near getting back in time. I'm sure he doesn't want to see the tape of that one again. That was horrible. But Jari, I think he'll be fine. I've been a big fan of Jari. Now, the problem Pittsburgh seems to be having, though, is that they have a great or have a goaltender that wins cups. They, because of cap restraints, they let him go, like Fleury, right? And then the goaltender after him is like, "Oh, I got to do it now. Oh, okay," and they don't do it. They get overwhelmed, or like Murray has been a basket case for the last ever since Fleury left, and in Ottawa, it's taken basket case to a whole new levels. And then Jari looks like he's fumbling around with the ball now that it's been handed to him.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's going to take time. You have a new defense, completely new defense, pretty much now because of injuries, and you changed up your offensive forwards, adding in a Jankowski before the year, adding in a Kapanen among others to mix up front as well. So I didn't think Pittsburgh was going to be one of the hotter starting teams because I don't think they were as good as they once were either. So they're in a figuring out process, especially injuries. They're in even more of an amped up figuring out process.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's they're doing remarkably well actually, considering their injuries, and we talked to them a lot. Great coaching. So we didn't talk about the coaching yesterday. Sullivan is a fantastic coach, and he has them buying into a very simple defensive system. And in order to do that, he kind of has to tell them, in their own way, you guys aren't good, so don't try to be like you are. Just get it out quickly, simply. Don't try to. We're not trying to get score from our end. We're not trying to break out pass and stuff like that. And Pittsburgh isn't doing that. They're being very they're being very simple, which is great coaching, I think. What do you think about that?
Yeah, they do have good coaching thus far. The other team that's had really good coaching is the one right behind them in the Devils, that have been one of the surprise teams of this season. The right now, if they look like they could be the fourth place team. I don't see them moving up from that. If they get in, I think they're going to be the fourth place team. But if the New York teams keep struggling as such, I don't think Buffalo or New Jersey over time, just because of the experience of Pittsburgh still has in guys that got to the playoffs in the Letang, Crosby's, Malkins, and others, will outmatch them. So I would say if the New York teams can't pick it up, Pittsburgh probably has a good chance to be the fourth seed. But we still have a lot of time for one of the two New York teams to actually start doing more consistent, especially the Islanders, who have not been very impressive this year whatsoever. So
Right. I'm trying to share this live here. Yeah, I don't think it's looking good for them. It's the thing is, like, Crosby's always that X factor. Like, he seems to be able to get the best out of any team. I wonder. I don't know if he's got the personality for it, but I think he's certainly got the mind for it. Whenever his career does come to an end, if he would consider being a coach or something like that, or maybe do what Sakic and Yzerman did. He's such an incredibly smart player. Uh, no, incredibly smart hockey mind. I just have a feeling he might do something like that, become a general manager or something of that nature.
Yeah, I could see him working in a front. I would see him probably working in a front office more than a coach,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
because star players haven't always worked out or actually more times than not, stars haven't worked out as coaches just because when a guy's trying to get coached by a star, he's immediately awestruck. Um, like when he first makes the league and you're a young rising player and Crosby's basically telling you what to do, you're kind of looking at him like, holy crap, that's Cindy Crosby. That's the guy I grew up watching. Oh my god, like 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 that's sometimes you have that reaction. That's why people always thought guys like Michael Jordan should never be a coach. He ended up being an owner. Um, and like guys like Patrick Waugh didn't make as good of a coach as people initially anticipated.
Uh,
It's hard to learn from the best because you're just very awestruck by learning from them because they were your idols. So that it doesn't. But I would say, front office wise, you would definitely be in a pretty good position there.
yeah. I guess it depends on the player too, right? Like you mentioned, because talk at Berube, but they're not really like superstars like Crosby. I'm just
No, yeah, like I mean like superstar
uh,
players. Yeah,
I'm
usually.
just trying to think of what Waugh didn't work because he's just has to do it his own way, and he can't. It doesn't seem to be able to work with anybody. Um, so I think that's more the reason why Waugh didn't work. I mean, he had a hard time working with people when he was playing, let alone coaching. Waugh's got a great hockey mind, but his attitude and personality just doesn't line up well with it. And that might be because of, like you said, being a superstar. Yeah, you can have this feeling like you're better than everybody and act like that way. And Waugh's kind of like that. And that doesn't really rub off well, on a team.
No, as a head coach, like imagine Dominic Hasek being a head coach.
No,
Like,
yeah,
like,
well, yeah, that's a personality thing altogether. I'm trying to think of some superstar, like somewhere superstar hockey players that did make it as a coach. Really, I can't think of anybody. Well, there was a Norris Trophy winner. I don't know if you call him a superstar, but Randy Carlisle did pretty well at it. Um,
yeah.
but off the top of my head, I'm not really thinking thinking of any. I can't really think of anybody that has been successful. Maybe it'll come up to me as we're doing this. Um,
If there's a goal in the league that might be able to be a pretty good coach because he's always had a pretty good hockey mind, especially because he had to overcome perseverance from having a couple down seasons. NHL Hockey News Report said Wayne Gretzky, head coach of
yeah, that's
Coyotes.
right. Yeah. Well, I was kind of going with the one that had succeeded as a coach. Well,
Yeah, not like
Wayne
not
Gretzky
somebody that.
himself said that he wasn't a good coach, and he gave it a shot, and he's glad he did. But it was not his forte by any stretch of the imagination. So,
Well, you're learning from like the great one. Then I mean, your nickname is literally the great
yeah,
one.
yeah,
Like yeah, that thing to do. That's like in baseball having Hank Aaron be your manager before he passed away. Rest in peace to the great Hank Aaron. But like you would, it was hard to learn from the all time best home run hitter in terms of not using steroids. So that's just hard to learn from, and it's the same kind of with Gretzky and those people. You're all struck by the guy you're supposed to be learning from, and being all struck by the guy you're learning from doesn't normally help you learn anything. So,
yeah. Yeah, I think maybe one will come to me, but Randy Carlisle is the only one I can think of that was probably the best play.
Yeah, but I was gonna
Phil
say a
Housley,
guy
Phil
for me.
Phil Housley
Oh, that's
was a
true.
coach of the Buffalo Sabres, but I mean that wasn't successful. But it is the Buffalo Sabres, and he's still an assistant coach. So I mean, a lot of people would consider him maybe one of the top 25 defensemen of all time. So you could put him up
His
there.
players. Yeah.
You could put him in there maybe.
I would say the goalie I was going to say that probably would be a good head coach by the end would be because he had to persevere and now he's having a comeback. It's probably quick if he does want to coach because he's always been pretty good at guiding, especially as a defensive coach. Because Quick's always been one of the better goaltenders at communicating with his defense. So if you have a good coach that's good at coaching offense, Quick can be the guy that's kind of that more defensive and goaltending mindset, and then you would have a pretty good system there if you have an assistant that takes more of the reins on the other end of the puck and he focuses on goaltending and defense. I think that would be a pretty decent matchup. Heck, I wouldn't even put it past the Kings to consider if Todd McClellan's kind of done by the point Quick retires to give him a shot just because he already has all the relationships within the organization and the team. And we saw it in baseball with David Ross. It's not as hard on it's not as hard as people thought for a player to go from a player of that team to a coach. Because we saw it in baseball, he was able to change his personality to say, "Look, I'm now the boss, not just your buddy dude." So, like, I think Quick can probably do the same thing if they wanted to go that route in the future. But either way, he could be a coach of someone else if the Kings don't want him. So,
Yeah, I think when you're talking about the great players like Stevie Eisman, great general manager, Joe Sakic, general manager, neither one of them coached. The most difficult part of coaching is letting people make mistakes. It's you
yeah,
have to let the player see what their mistake is. If you're just
which I think Quick will do
yeah,
because he was used to it in a couple of
maybe
years when
maybe
the
yeah.
team was rebounding.
I'm not sure, but I
Yeah,
think it's very difficult for perfectionists like Wayne Gretzky, Steve Eisenman, and that to let people make mistakes, and that's probably the reason why they have a difficult time
Patrick
coaching.
Waugh. That's probably also part of why Waugh.
Patrick
Yeah,
Waugh, yeah.
I feel like that's the same with Waugh too. That's probably part
but
of why
but
Waugh
but
didn't see not just
all the
personality,
players
but he
liked
also
Waugh. All the players liked Waugh. There wasn't. I don't think he was a bad coach. He just couldn't get a. He wasn't able to get along with management. See, you brought up a good point. Goaltenders are more inclined to let people make mistakes because they have to. Goaltenders are
yeah,
always
exactly.
they're always working with people's mistakes. That's what they're working. The reason why they're stopping the puck is somebody made a mistake. So
Yeah.
they have to be fairly forgiving of people's mistakes, or they'll just go crazy. Uh, so yeah, that you bring
Oh
up a
yeah,
good point there. That a goaltender would certainly be more better chance, like a
yeah. I
superstar
mean, if we're
goaltender.
gonna have a foreign goaltender coach, if he doesn't want to go back to his own country at a certain point, I don't think Hank would be a bad
Yeah,
coach
that's a
either.
good point. Yeah, Hank. The only thing is he's so emotional, but yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, he's kind of that team guy. Yeah, I could see that. I could see that. All right, well, let's get to the next game here, and this one I don't even. So I'm very angry about this. Destroyed a parlay last night. Thought I had it wrapped up. A good one too.
Yo, Hockey Newsrumors has a good point. He says, "Remember when Sakic was hated by all fans, and now look, everyone
Who's
loves
that?
him."
Sakic?
Joe Sakic, when he was hated by most people, and now that he's a GM,
When
everyone's like because of. I think he means because everyone hated a guy that killed
well,
everyone.
because he was
It's
so
like
good, you mean?
the universal,
Yeah,
yeah, the universal destroyer is usually
yeah,
hated because he's just gonna come in and destroy your team
yeah.
and
Here's a
everything.
backstory. I played in a tournament in Quebec when I was young. Now I didn't play with him, but I watched him when in a tournament. He was playing like 3 levels higher than he was supposed to his age. And you want to talk about people hating someone? I mean, you didn't even going to the game was almost like boring because it's like Sakic does just went around everybody, scored 5 of the 7 goals, and they won the tournament. It was crazy. They couldn't get competition strong enough for the kid. It was nuts. Anyways, yeah, I just thought I'd tell that little story there.
Yeah, that's a pretty good story. Yeah, I didn't know that. That's a good story.
Yeah, he was a lot younger than me at the time. He was just a kid. Like he was just a kid, and he was just going around to everybody. It was freaking nuts.
Oh, he's saying because of the Duchesne trade and being last in 2017.
Oh, I see what you mean. The people that were hating on him for the Duchesne trade, I actually was like, this is awesome. He's not doing what a lot of general managers do and jumping the gun.
Also, Matt Duchesne kind of there was kind of reports that he wasn't loving it there, so I don't think he had much of a. Eventually, I think that was going to get to a point of get me out of here.
Well,
At a certain point.
but I mean, you could make a case that part of the reason why that team was so bad when it was so bad, if you look at what happened with Dubois there and the energy of the Columbus during that time, could have been Duchesne, but Sack could have been like energy. Duchesne was screwing the energy with that team, uh, and Sakic just said, "I don't care what you say. I'm only getting what I'm getting for him." And look what he got for him. Like it was a crazy good trade, unbelievable. What's that defenseman's name there? That maybe NHL hockey will tell us off the top of our head, but why do I always forget his name? It's freaking awesome defense.
For that they got from Matt
Yeah,
Duchesne.
from Colorado. Or from Ottawa, I mean. Where the heck are they? Colorado Avalanche. I don't know why I always forget his name. It'll kick me when I see it. Samuel Girard.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, he's
gotcha. There
just
we go.
smoking
Yeah,
in there. And that wasn't all they got. They got draft picks and all kinds of stuff. You look at the trade tree on that, and he just freaking slam dunked that trade. But the thing was, is he just said, "I'm not trading you. I don't care until I get what I want." And there was lots of talk of some pretty darn good offers, and he wasn't happy till he got exactly what he wanted. He wanted a future top 2 defenseman, and he got one. So
yeah,
yeah, but he's right though. There was people hating on him because he was taking so long. They wanted him to trade right away and get that mess off their hands, and Sakic's like, no, no, I'm not doing it.
yeah, it is true.
Girard came from, that's right. It didn't come from Ottawa. Yes, he's right. It came from, because it was a 3-way trade. Turris went to the Predators, and Ottawa, what did Ottawa give up? I can't wait. But Girard, they got Girard. Ottawa sent Turris to Nashville, and
Ottawa had a first given up and a third also, I think. In
yeah,
that
they gave up
patch.
a crap load to get him for Duchesne.
Yeah,
They gave up Girard, a first, a third, Turris, which wasn't much. That was actually made that deal look not too bad. But as it turns out, hindsight. But at the time, Turris looked like he was maybe not having a great year, but you didn't think he was going to fall off a complete cliff. Uh,
yeah.
so yeah, they gave up a lot for Duchesne. And so where were we going on this? We were just, where did we start this from?
We were going to the net. We were going to the next game. We did the Penguins and Rangers and whatever game we wanted to talk about next, which might be the quick brush over of the
Oh,
Canadians
that's right. We were talking about great
walloping
players that
Vancouver.
became coaches. Then yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, Duchesne left during the game when he was traded, but at least
yeah,
Duchesne did play, and he played I guess as hard as he could. But anyways, we'll go to Boston, Washington now. Like I said, this game really pissed me off. They were up 3-0 in the second, I believe, and I think it went the opposite way around the game before this. Right, the Bruins were up 3-0. The Capitals came back. And then now with this one, the Capitals are up 3-0, and the Bruins come back. And Mr. Pasternak, comes in and plays 20 minutes, scores 2 goals, and he hasn't played in how long? Like, are you kidding me with this guy, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's what talent is. We saw it with Stammer last year. He played about 5 minutes and scored a goal in the Stanley Cup. And Pasta came in, played a full 20, which is a lot in your first game back, and he haven't played in pretty much a year. And he was able to score two of the most important goals to get the momentum, and then Craig Smith was able to score the game tying goal there, who's also looked like a pretty solid all around like scrapper bottom six Swiss Army knife player for the Bruins because he's good on both ends type guy there. So I like that pickup for them, and he obviously prevailed for them last night, getting that game tying goal. And then a guy that you don't necessarily always expect to score, only with I believe 14 goals in his entire career, was Carlo ended up scoring the what went down to be the game-winning goal because the other goal just ended up being an extra goal. Was the 4-3 goal, and then Marchand just put the icing on the cake there with that empty netter at the end. But that's the way. I almost got that game. I was thinking that game was going to be a 2 goal game, but I had it at I was thinking 4-2 with an empty netter. Ended up being 5-3. So I'm happy I did not put a bet on for the score with that one because I would have been wrong just ever so.
But you had Boston winning last night?
Yeah, but I had a different 2 goal total. I thought it would be 4-2 and an empty netter would make it 4, where it ended up being 4-3, and then an empty netter made it a 5-3 2 goal game. So that's I had it a little bit off there, but still ended up being a 2 goal win for the Bruins after a very nice comeback for the Boston Bruins last night, capped off by Marchand, who is now, of course, back from his injury, been the guy that was in all year from the beginning when he wasn't supposed to be. So you have to give him a lot of credit for being able to get his body in shape right away and be able to come in right away when people thought he was going to have a little bit of a delay to the season himself. So credit where credit's due with him. But yeah, that was a pretty good game. I was able to see different parts of, and from everything I followed too, they said Boston just kept coming. Where there was not that game wasn't really on Vanacek for blowing the lead either. Where Boston just kept coming at Washington's defense, and they just didn't have the answers once they got it to 3-2, especially, and then they tied the game. They lost all momentum at that point, and then Boston just pretty much took over.
Yeah, I think Washington just pooched out a bit. They've been playing a lot of hockey. They had a lot of guys playing higher in the lineup than normal that they're not used to. I was kind of wondering where they. That's why I was pretty iffy on that game, but I liked the juice for Washington and the way they were rolling. Uh, the best story on here is just Chara still playing 20 to 25 minutes a night
Yeah,
and playing well. Like he's not just a plug out there; he's playing really well.
yeah. Char's the Tom Brady of hockey, it seems.
Yeah,
I'll probably play it on 45, and then we'll see what happens once I hit 45. That seems like what Char is also doing there. Maybe they talk to each other on the side and just kind of plan their retirement. But yeah, he definitely seems like the Tom Brady of hockey. And yes, Vanacek did win the Rookie of the Month NHL Hockey News Report. He's been very good. Pretty soon I'm going to write an article and do a video on young goaltenders. So keep a lookout for that because he'll definitely be mentioned in that.
yeah. I hope you guys are heading over to that steelflyers.com website. There, you got all of us on there. Just go to Steel Flyers Friends. You can find all of our work, and certainly Projo's writing is pretty fantastic. So I would highly recommend you check it out. Excuse me.
Thanks.
Um, so okay, what else we got for that game? Yeah, we talked a lot about these two teams. I think it's going to be some barn burners this year, and this whole conference is going to be barn burners. What the guy that's surprising the heck out of me, it might be the most improved player I have seen besides maybe Del Zotto in Columbus, is
Yeah. That's been very surprising too. Yeah, I
yeah,
agree with
is
that one. Yeah.
Zaboral. Uh, I mean, I know he was a high draft pick and all, but he didn't really show much in the AHL. John,
No,
off the wall, John is pretty good judge of talent and knows hockey very very well. And he said he didn't like Zaboral at all from what he saw in the AHL, but he's been freaking amazing. Or not amazing, but you know, in
he's been more
comparison.
defensive to start. I think a good way to put it is he's been more defensive
Well, that's
to
what his game
start
is.
when his game is that, but they think there's at least a 10 to 15 point potential. Right now he's shown more of a like a Hijic or a Ryan Lindgren, kind of like a mini version of that, where Hijic's probably a better comparison, Liber Hijic from the Rangers, because he's more of a defensive inclined guy, but not as good as Ryan Lindgren. Where I wouldn't say Zaboral's as good as Ryan Lindgren as a shutdown defenseman. He's probably more where Hijic is, who's another guy that's actually having a very nice surprise start to his career with New York, to being kind of their second Ryan Lindgren out there for a defense that's not looking too hot overall. But those two are looking pretty good defending the puck on the back end in New York.
Well, when you watch this defense, you can kind of see why they let Krug go. You got to remember, there's no what's his name? Grizzlick is out again too.
Yeah, and he's very good when he's in
Yeah,
too, and that's a shame that he keeps aggravating. Oh, this time it was a new injury, but before it seemed like he was kind of re-aggravating, like John was saying, the same type of thing. Where I think the best for him is just rest, wait till you're fully good, or at least 90 to 95%, and then come back, because otherwise you're just going to keep having an issue linger, and that's not any benefit to your team.
yeah. Ulysses says that Washington played a lot of games lately, but a few games it was not their original cast members. Yeah, of course, because of all that stuff that happened. That's why
The thing is, though,
that's why I was saying that
yeah,
they had a lot of guys playing up higher in the lineup than normal. Yeah, when they get everybody back, though, that team is going to be just stacked. I believe Ulysses, I confused you with somebody else. I thought you were a Rangers fan, but I could be wrong. Correct me if I was wrong there. But
yeah, I was gonna say with Washington though, the difference is no matter how many games you played, if you come out and go up 3-0, you still should be able to figure out a way to win that game. Like that's more what it is. When
oh
you
yeah,
come out that strong,
hmm
no matter if you played 5 games in 5 days, if you came out that strong, you should still be able to just play all defensive or something at that point and figure out a way to win the game. Maybe you turn into the Blue Jackets later in the game because you don't want to use all your energy and you just block shots and play a more defensive mindset.
yeah,
But they just weren't able to do that, and they kept trying to do everything at once when if they were more tired because of their game total of late, they probably would have been better just kind of settling back like the Hurricanes or Blue Jackets or Phoenix when they actually, or Arizona, excuse me, when they play a really good game and just playing more defensive to protect the lead because they did look tired as the game went on, but I think
yeah.
that was not adjusting to the feel of the game at that point.
I didn't get to see the game. I was if anybody in the chat room or how did Vanacek let any boners in, or could he be blamed? Like, or did he just how did or were they? Did he have
Excuse me.
did he
I
have a
only
good?
saw some of the goals, and none of the ones I saw when I had it on were bad. I don't know if he when I didn't have it on. The only goal I saw were both of Pastas and the one. No, I didn't see the one by correction. I only saw both of Pastas, and I didn't think there was any issue with that. But everything I followed on Twitter was people saying it was more they just kept it coming at him and they had no answer. So it didn't really sound like it was Vanacek's fault at all. It sounded like they just kept coming full throttle and
Yeah,
they had no answer for it.
yeah. It's that great leadership in Boston, Bergeron and Marchand, and dude, who doesn't get enough credit for his leadership, by the way. Marchand's a fantastic leader. He's a great leader.
It's
Uh,
because of his personality on the ice sometimes. That's why. It's not.
Yeah, I
That's the
know.
only
Well, that's
reason.
why I'm
Yeah.
bringing it up, right? Like
Yeah.
what he's known for, I know, but he's actually a great leader and has a lot of respect in that locker room. But what I was saying is, it bodes well for Boston's defense because like Lauzon has looked really solid, like a Lindgren type player. I've liked him all the way through here. McAvoy has been off the chain. He's playing absolutely fantastic. They got everybody rolling here, and with Zaboro playing as well as he is, even Connor Clifton comes in, plays 15 minutes, and doesn't look out of place at all.
Lazan's looked all right too. Jeremy
Yeah,
Lazan.
Lazon, that's what I said.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been talking about him for a while. I've always liked him. It's not really surprising me uh, that I knew I figured he was going to be that type of guy. It's really Zaboral has been the biggest surprise to me for sure. And Daniel
Yeah.
Sprong pulls a second goal of the season after banging around the league after Pittsburgh drafted him, let him go, Anaheim let him go. Maybe he's found a bit of a home here in Washington. I don't know, but oh wait a second, he only played 5 minutes. I guess they're not trusting him all that much, but he did manage to pot one in that 5 minutes.
Yeah. I guess it's just about being an opportunist at that point.
Yeah, he
You were on for 5 minutes. You were able to pot the goal. As for what Ulysses said, yeah, I could see Washington being the best team in the East. You have to remember the divisions are different, though. So if you're talking about competing with Tampa for the best East team, sure, but they're not in the same division this year, remember. So they don't have to compete with Tampa for the division.
yeah
So
I
that would be more for the East crown, which I also think because they haven't got going full bore yet and are still one of the best teams in actually I think they might be tied for the best team in the league right now. Yeah, the Flyers are tied for the best team in the league right now, record wise, with Toronto. I think if they get going, they'll also be up there. And also, I think of the teams that would be more likely to fall off compared to Philly, Washington, and Tampa, it would actually be Washington because they have a young goaltender, two young goaltenders. So you have to see how they play up to the rigors of a full season.
yeah
Now, it might
I
be a blessing in disguise that Samsonov actually went out for a bit because he'd be more rested in the long haul, and you got to see Vanacek emerge as a starter. But, like I said yesterday, but um, I would say I agree, Ulysses. They're not playing consistent, but that's the scary part. You're 7-2 while not playing consistent. Imagine what'll happen when you start playing consistent. That's the main point I'm getting at there. Where Washington will be interesting when they get everyone back, but I feel like just the young goaltending thing, if they get tired, it's not going to be anything against them. I think both will be very good goalies in this league. It's just I've seen that happen in the past. If I had to rank between those three, who I think is the best chance of falling into being the third best team in the East, I would just say that's Washington.
Yeah, I took Washington to win this division, Ulysses. So, and that's basically because they're big, they're solid, and I have a lot. I think Laviolette was going to have these guys rolling, and he is. When you take these injuries into account, when they bring everybody back,
Yeah,
I was rolling the dice as with what Joe was saying. I was rolling the dice on that on Samsonov. Uh, because I was that would have to be that Samsonov became the goaltender that they've always hoped he was going to become. But I just even if he didn't come to that heights, Washington's team overall is just relentless. It's a relentless team, and
yeah,
Laviolette's system is relentless. It wouldn't
I agree with
it
that.
wouldn't have
I agree
surprised
with
me at
that.
all if Philadelphia won it, or if
Washington or Tampa.
like won the East altogether. You mean? Yeah.
Yeah,
I think Washington will be better than Tampa Bay this year. I even think Philadelphia. Well, I mean Washington and Philadelphia to me are like
they're
the
the top two.
two, yeah, right now from what I'm watching because, like Joe said, Philadelphia has been winning their bad games, and that's what great teams do. When you don't have the greatest games and you win, though, that's what great teams do. So we'll see if Washington does that. They haven't really had those really bone. Well, I guess this last the game might have been and they didn't win it. So
Yeah. Um, As for Hart will have to take a big load, I actually don't agree with that because Brian Elliott has been very good since he's come here and has been a very good platoon.
Yeah.
They've been one of the best platoons. I don't think Carter Hart's going to take that big of a load. I think they're going to try to give him what he needs at this point, and then have him more rested for the playoffs because of what Moose is able to do. Because Moose has played very good this year and very well. No, he's not, Ulysses. Elliott's not a bum. He's one of the best backups in the league. I don't know what you're talking about.
No, he's
Um,
not. Yeah, he's not.
yeah.
Yeah, he's.
And also Corey Crawford, it seemed like did that for personal reasons. So I'm not going to speak on Corey Crawford leaving the Devils at that point. And he might not be the most consistent guy, Ulysses, but let's put it this way: the Flyers wouldn't have made the postseason last year if it wasn't for Brian Elliott because he's the one that held them in on the road.
I think he
Carter
might be
Hart did
going
not
off of
play.
his days in St. Louis when he couldn't make it as a number one. Yeah, and that's
Well, yeah, but that's not what anyone wants him to be.
no, not now. But he's
Yeah.
that's what people have that view of Elliott when you think about you're not paying attention to one team. For the Philadelphia Flyers, he's awesome. He's everything. He found his niche. But before he got to Philadelphia, trying to be a number one center, he just didn't make it. And he had a lot of boner games and he struggled a lot.
Oh,
But
I agree with
yeah,
that.
that I
But
think
he
that's
found
where
his. Yeah.
Ulysses gets that from. Gets
Yeah,
that
I
from.
agree. He's not a number one, but nobody wants him to be a number one.
Yeah.
They just want him to be the good, solid backup, and that's exactly what he was last year, saving the Flyers bacon, honestly, on the road because Hart was not. He had that just weird year on the road where he's not bad on the road. It was just that one year, but. As a backup, Elliott fills in perfectly and is able to take that role. He's actually had better overall games than Carter when he's been in this year. Where Carter's had a couple goals that he even said I should have got, where Elliott hasn't had as many of those actually this year yet. So I would say he's got off to the hotter start actually of our two goaltenders.
Yeah, yeah, well, yeah, but I mean,
Obviously,
price
that'll balance out over
price
time,
is
and
getting
Hart's going to
better.
take the
Hart's
take the icing
Hart's.
on the
I
cake
just
just
called
for
Hart
now.
Price.
Yeah, I
I
don't agree with that either, Ulysses. I don't think he does that much anymore.
Yeah, I think Elliott has really refined his game. He can't be a number one now. He used to flop around a lot in St. Louis, and it took him a long time to really find his game. And then by the time he did find it, he was too old to be a starter. So it was kind of a weird career for Elliott. But yeah, we're both Philadelphia Flyers fans, and I'd take Elliott as a backup has been excellent. What? Let's go. Let's take a dive into that before we move into our next game. Who do you think is the best backup in the league? Pure backup in the league right now.
Um,
Like
yeah, well,
not a
Halak's
guy
not
that
a.
used to be a number one. Halak is a good one, but he did kind of used to be a number one. But for the most
Yeah, I
part,
was gonna say he's not really necessarily a fool because he gives Rask a lot of rest for the postseason. He's kind of a 1B. Flurry's not considered a full backup.
yeah, you can't
Um,
consider Fleury a full backup. He just
yeah,
happens to be backup right now because of the situation. And a 1B is more like what he is there. Yeah. There who best
man. I don't know if I would consider Gorgiev a full backup either, so then I can't really put him in that.
you could I think you could make a case for that, but I mean he's just figuring out if he's going to be a number one or not. Yeah, I think we're looking at. Yeah, that I can see.
Could be
Your
Gorgiev.
I see your point there, that he may not be a backup. It's they're kind of rare now. They don't. Maybe Campbell in Toronto.
Campbell or Jake Allen maybe too, and not Minnesota, Montreal.
Yeah, Jake Allen because I mean he was trying to be a number one, but he never really did. He did play number one role for St. Louis for a long time, but just never did it so effectively.
uh,
He's almost like what Elliott was.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Also, Ulysses, I really like Calvin Peters, center. I think he's going to be a really good goalie. I don't know if I would consider him a full blown backup though. That's the
Peterson's gonna
yeah
is the number one there
yeah
right now. Pe-
that's why they've been platooning a bit, but I would say he's more the
yeah.
ring holder, so to speak, right now. So that's that's why I wouldn't necessarily call him a backup. I guess you could put Quick then if you want to call Quick a backup at this point, but he was once one of the better starters in the league, so I don't know if that would go along the lines of what we're thinking.
Yeah, well, yeah, because he was one of the best starters, so you can't really call him
Yeah.
that. I haven't looked. I haven't even got my thing out to check. I'll run.
And Campbell, yeah, I agree, Ulysses. Campbell, we started off not agreeing today in the video. Now we're seeing eye to eye. So it's amazing how things turn around. Um, but yeah, I like Campbell too. I really admire how he was able to play through that one game when he injured his leg, and somehow he just was, no, I'm not coming out of this game, ladies and gentlemen, and flopped on his rear end, and then got back up, and he looked like he was literally Brian Elliott in St. Louis pretty much because he couldn't move. He was like playing with an injured leg in that game, and he still was able to win it. I mean, that's perseverance and that's gutting it out. He's really been looking good after having a little bit of off games. Still looked solid overall, but a couple off games that people got mad at in LA at the end, and then he went to Toronto and has really settled in as the backup there, it seems, and that's really good for him because I've always liked him and wanted him to succeed. So nice to see him do that. In terms of Quick needing a new start, I don't think that'll happen because one, cap, and two, I think the Kings just like his leadership role, where until they find another goaltender that can replace that, maybe they'll move him in his final season. But that's the only thing I can see. Also, we just got breaking news that Frost will need Morgan Frost of the Philadelphia Flyers is going to need shoulder surgery.
Oh wow, that could be
Um,
career finishing for him, or at least
uh,
where he was gonna.
done for the season. Yeah, he's probably done for the season. Hesitant to reveal a definite timeline, but he's likely done for the season, which also puts a wrench in the fact of trading for Johnny Gaudreau if the Flyers wanted to do that, because a lot of people in mock trades had Frost as one of the prospects going back to Calgary. So that obviously is not going to be able to happen if he's injured. I don't know who you're going to throw in to replace him.
Yeah.
You
I was
probably
just
have to
I
give
was
up
gonna say
Morgan
there's
though. Yeah.
another guy. I think you could pretty much call him a career backup because I don't think he's never really been the number one guy. And
I
that
do agree with Ulysses. He
Grice,
will fit in well in NJ. Not to
Grice.
cut you off, but yeah, Grice. That's a good one. That is a really good one. Yeah, I agree with that. Actually, yeah, you're right. Other than this year when he became the start, kind of take the reins a bit in Detroit because it's Detroit. Um, like I would say Grice is the perfect example. You're right. That's actually I don't know why we didn't think of that one sooner. You're right. That actually is probably the prime example of a really good backup that whenever you needed him to take the reins as a starter, he was able to do that for a period of time, and then he went back into doing his thing. Where it seems like Vanacek is going to be that guy that can pretty much be a starter or take the reins back. Where it's going to be really funny because he just won the Rookie of the Month. Samsonov might not be starting when, like that's the funny part of this thing. He might not even get his job back initially until Vanacek starts struggling when he's one of the best young goalies too. So that's a great problem to have. You have two of the better young goalies in hockey, and you're going, oh well, who the heck am I going to start tonight?
Uh,
Like that's a very good problem for Peter Laviolette when Samsonov comes back.
off
That's a problem I would love to have.
John from Off the Wall has showed up today. Wow, thanks John for coming in, buddy. We were live last night. We had a great time. Your computers were the OBS was gone or something like that. He was getting it wasn't a feed problem
Excuse
or
me.
it was an OBS problem, I think it was. But John, thanks for coming in, buddy. Right on. We were just talking about the best backup in the league right now. We came up with Grice. Now we were trying to make like pure backup because like they couldn't have been a number one before, and they can't be a young guy that's probably going to be a number one. So you can't
Well,
really,
that's why I want to throw Gorgiev in
or
there.
Merzlikins isn't really because he still
Yeah,
could be a number one right now. And actually, you could make a case that he's doing better than Corpusala right now. So, uh, yeah, so yeah, that's we're just talking about that, and that's
and
the
then Dredger,
Drigger, yeah,
Drigger. I mean, he could even be a starter with how he's playing at
could.
26. So I don't know if I right now he's definitely a short backup. So if you want to do that, as for Jake Ottinger, I really like Jake Ottinger. He came in went 5 for 5 in the playoffs when he came in that last period, made a couple saves in the PK, and also has looked pretty solid in his start this year. He's a pretty good goaltender at playing the puck as well. I followed him most of his way, read a lot of different scouting reports on him because I've liked him where he's kind of a hybrid, I would say, between what the way that Hudobin likes to play, just stay in the net at times, or come out of the net to play the puck. He is a guy that seems very smart at judging when to do it, and it's not like Hudobin who should just not play the puck, where he's very good in the net, but out of all of Dallas's goalies, he's the one that should just not play the puck and let the defenseman get it, because when he plays the puck, that's the one thing that sometimes is off on his game. Nothing else other than the fact of him sometimes trying to play the puck to the defenseman. So I would say Ottinger's definitely a good fit there because he reminds me a little bit of Bishop in terms of he likes to play the puck, he likes to give it to his defenseman, he likes to really quarterback his defenseman. It seems similar to Ben Bishop. So it seems like that would be a good fit, and I feel like Ben Bishop's not going to be on the Dallas Stars until the end of that contract, whenever the heck he comes back.
What's going on? Sorry, I got my NHL thing is going all funky on me.
uh, and
Uh,
also, I agree with you on that too, Ulysses. The goaltending is getting a lot younger in this league. That is 100% factual. Yeah, there's not as many veterans taking the reins. I don't think anyone's ever going to take the job from Carey. Good luck, Caden Primo. But that's the one spot I think if Caden Primo's smart, eventually he'll be like, yeah, guys, would you mind trading me to a franchise that I could actually, I don't know, play in the next 7 years of my life?
who's that?
Like,
Who's that?
like Caden Primo.
Oh, Caden Primo.
I
Yeah,
feel like I had sort of put it like, yeah, do you mind trading me to a franchise I could play in the next 7 years of my life?
yeah.
Like,
I think.
because I don't see Carey Price not starting anytime soon.
Yeah,
But
I don't know if Caden was ever really thought to be a starter, but yeah, he
no,
probably.
I don't know if he can be a starter, but he could be a good backup in my opinion. Where
Yeah.
I don't think Montreal's going to need that for a while. Because if Allen fits in, why would you get rid of him? He
Well,
really likes that area. He seems to like there. If you can keep signing him for say like 2 million or something, or like a good backup price tag, I don't see them getting rid of him. And then Primo would be used to get some assets as to go to someone to be their
the yeah,
1B tryout or a
I'm
backup. I
sure
don't
he.
think. Yeah, I don't.
I'm sure he likes money though, and the way he's playing right now, I think somebody might throw him 3.5 million. So who knows? It's hard to say. Maybe
Yeah,
he's like somebody like Carolina who doesn't like to pay their starters or something like that.
that's a
Uh,
good point.
but I mean, you like you said, you don't know because sometimes money isn't everything. You know, you like the city, you
Yeah.
found a place that you
Well, if
appreciate, and
Carolina's defense keeps playing the way they are, just because of how their system is, like you said, you might have people voting for their goalies to be top five in the damn Vezina.
yeah,
Meanwhile, you'll be looking at it going, wait, they only made 17 saves a game.
Brendan,
And then it'll be like, yeah, but their stats, like, did you see his 930 save percentage? It's like,
yeah,
well, yes, he did really good. Don't get me wrong. It's just their defense is disgusting. So it's like,
Brendan Moore for the Adams early, possibly. He's got my vote so far, but it's only been a couple games. He that would be he's doing fantastic things in Carolina there for sure. So we'll go to the next game here, which won't be talking too much about, but we did bring him up already.
the
Tampa Bay
blowout
Tampa
game.
Bay Lightning versus the Nashville
Okay.
Predators. Nashville Predators. What are they going to do? What are they going to do? What are they going to do? Yeah, you can't. Who are you going to trade? Is anybody going to take Duchesne at $8 million a
Or
year for eternity,
Johansson.
or Johansson, or
Yeah.
I mean, you've got the last year's Norris Trophy defenseman, and you can't win games.
No. I mean, it's also the goaltending hasn't come out as sharp
No,
as UC Soros was last year, which is very hurtful since Pekarine's 38 now, I believe. So
39.
obviously he's not.
Oh,
Oh, is he 39? Well,
yeah,
that's even older.
yeah,
He's not going to be able to obviously take over the. I mean, if he does, good for him, but I just don't see it happening at this point of his career. I really like Pekka, but he's more of a backup at this point.
yeah.
Honestly, I could see him getting moved because I think it's the final year of his deal. If somebody needs a veteran backup that has the money, just because he's kind of now like that Craig Anderson effect where everybody just loves his experience and the fact that he brings that winning pedigree to the locker room as a goaltender that's been around the block. I could see somebody that needs a veteran backup over time saying Pecorine might not be the worst option there because you only have to pay him for this year. So if you have the money, you just have to muster it up for this year, and then you can pay him diddly squat next year if he wants to stay in the team. He's probably going to be like a 1.5 million tag or like a 2 million tag at that point of his career, in my opinion.
Hmm.
And then for that, I would take him as my backup any day of the week because you're bringing in a guy that has winning experience that can also, in the right system, probably still put up solid numbers. Nashville right now looks like a dumpster fire sometimes when I'm watching their defense try to communicate with the goaltenders. Like, wait, I thought you had that guy. No, I thought you had that guy. No, you were supposed to have that guy.
Yeah.
Like it looks like you're watching like a team from like Pee Wee hockey sometimes, where it's just like, no, 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 no. You, sir, were supposed to guard that guy. It's like, I don't care who was supposed to guard him. Someone just guard him. like that's kind of how I feel with Nashville sometimes. It's like, someone just guard the guy. I don't care who guards him. Even if you're not in the right position, guard the damn guy
No,
and let someone else get in your position
they
then because like they just seem all out of
they
sorts.
just don't have any pushback at all. And that's really what hockey's all about. Hockey's all about pushback when things don't go your way. And with Nashville, when things don't go their way, they practically just give up completely. Ulysses mentioned New Jersey. Would make sense that they were looking for a veteran
Pekka? Yeah, Pekka, that would make sense. Yeah.
because they did try to bring Crawford, and then Crawford decided to retire.
Hmm.
So, yeah, it's possible they could try to use him next year. But that the whole idea for that was to give Blackwood a
Yeah.
veteran goaltender to help him out. But I mean, Blackwood's knocking it out of the park now. I mean, he's when he comes back healthy.
When he comes back, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how
And they've
much.
still been able to play well enough with Scotty Darling just because of how they played as a team. I mean, the big thing with Jersey, in my opinion, is I think they would even be better than they are now if their power play was aggressive. Like that's one of the main things with them. They're just like Oprah. Like it's like you get a pass, you get a pass, you get a pass, and here's a pass for you, and then nobody shoots the puck. Like I feel like they should just have a like sound system that just goes shoot
Yeah,
as they're on the power play, like the fans would do while they're there. So the guy actually goes, "Oh, wait a minute, I'm supposed to shoot the puck on net. That's why I play this sport." Rather than passing the puck and being overly generous. I love players that are generous, but if you have the shot, just shoot. Like I don't care. You don't have to be the nicest guy on the planet all the time. If you have the shot, just shoot the puck.
I noticed Chernak was back for Tampa, which is bodes well for them.
Oh,
Now they've
100%.
got
He's a
some
very
extra.
underrated defenseman.
Now you got some extra defensemen laying around, so you never know what may happen there.
Ali.
Jan Ruda is probably, but overall, Tampa's playing well. I still don't think they've hit their stride completely, but they're kind of getting known for slow starts now a little bit. They're not really kicking it out. Like last year was a slow start. This year it's a little better start, but still not like just the normal Tampa team I'm used to seeing.
Well, that's also because Florida decided to start their season and be one of the biggest surprise teams of this season, and now they're ahead of Tampa for the time being,
Mm.
because of a goal differential of, I think, is the reason they're ahead of. It might be points percent. One of those two things is the reason they're ahead of them with the pretty much the same point totals. Oh no, I know what it is. I don't think they have a regulation loss yet. That's what it is. They don't have Florida doesn't have a regulation loss yet, and Tampa does. Um, so it'll be interesting to see with Florida if they can keep that up. Because we talked about teams that I don't know, not to be in first place, but just to be like a good team going into the playoffs, if they can keep that up. Because we talked about teams we think could fall off over time that got off to great starts. Some people would probably throw Florida into that category, but with how they're playing right now, and some guys that came over from Columbus has actually seemed to fit in very well to their lineup. So if that remains to be the case, especially because the big thing is my friend that's a Blue Jackets fan, I wasn't even thinking about this. The Florida Panthers are the Achilles heel of the Columbus Blue Jackets. Usually they always play the Columbus Blue Jackets well. Well, I wasn't even thinking about this in the offseason, but what helps you to make the Columbus Blue Jackets? What helps you even more to play the Columbus Blue Jackets well? Oh, I don't know, getting a couple other players and also having Sergei Bobrovsky on your team. I mean, you got Wenberg, and then you got Nudavara out there. I mean, now you just have people that are whispering what the Blue Jackets do in the ear of the players of a team that already kind of has their number. So it's going to be interesting to see how far Florida's able to take that. If Bob obviously is able to come back and kind of start playing like you expect Bob to play, that's going to be the reason why they're probably able to stay up there. If not, I don't know if Dreger's going to be able to keep the momentum going the whole season because he hasn't played a full NHL season. If he has to play too many games, he might tire out over time.
Yeah, Florida's the most interesting team this year to see what they do. Going Hornqvist was been a nice move so far. He scored 5 goals, I believe. You got that great story of Verhage. They're certainly playing with a lot more grit. That seems to have been the intention over the summer to get more. Again, we were talking about pushback, like Nashville could use players like these guys that they picked up. And it seems to be working so far. The record looks pretty darn good. Is it going to be able to hold up over the season as far as with the, because they really don't have a lot of scoring talent above their top line. Uh, yeah, it remains to be seen. Does Bob Roski hold up? That's why they're so interesting. There's so many question marks with the Florida Panthers.
Yeah,
Uh, who knows where they could end up? I kind of root for teams like that. I'd like to see them do well because I love guys like Hornqvist. Hornqvist is one of my favorite players in the NHL for the reasons that they picked him up. He's just a great go to the net presence, grind it out, be in all the dirty areas, fight for pucks kind of guy that you just can't help but love. We all love those kind of guys. So yeah,
yep.
I'm hoping for it. So the next game, yeah, we'll go to the blowout, I guess. Uh, this one has me a little bit worried. The first 7 games in 10 with Vancouver, I was like, okay, okay, that's a tough schedule. And but this one has me a little concerned. It would have me more concerned if Demko was in net instead of Holtby. But their defense is porous so far this year. Just there's no other way to put it. Just Vancouver's defense is horrible. Aren't they giving up something like over 5 goals a game or something like that? Like just disastrous.
Yeah, they haven't been good this year, but they still been able to, after having all those games, prevail to be the third team. So, which I think they would have been second if they beat Montreal last night. So, I think there's still, all things considered, of the game totals and the fact of their defense, how they're playing, have been doing fairly well. Where once that starts rebounding, because I feel like they have a much better defense on paper than what showed up on the freaking ice so far. That could start going more their way. I think Vancouver's gonna rebound, but I also think the Canadians. now looking at it, even though before the season I thought Vancouver might be the better of the two teams in general, so that might not be as surprising as we once thought. And then if they add more of a veteran presence too, which they've been rumored to do with some of the veterans on the trade market into their young lineup, then that's even going to help them even further. So now looking at it early on, I feel like Montreal might just be the better of the two teams. I didn't expect them to absolutely smack them, but it's not overly surprising because of what you just said. Their defense has been very piss poor in Vancouver to start the season, where Montreal has played one of the best two-way games, in my opinion, thus far to start the season. And then our defenseman, Amirov, has also played, or not Amirov, Romanov.
Romanov, yeah.
Yeah, Romanov. Yeah, I called him Rodion Amirov. I don't know where that came from.
That's Toronto, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. um, but yeah, he's been looking really good. So I think they're going to go on to do good things. I think it's just about settling in. They also have that rookie I like since he came up. That seems to be a very scrappy Swede. In Niels Hoglander, who has four or not 4 points, excuse me, 6 points already this season and has looked pretty good even when he hasn't potted the puck in the net in most games there. And then Quinn Hughes is Quinn Hughes. I mean, Quinn Hughes already has 11 points in 12 games. I mean, that guy's just going to produce. That's pretty much all I have to say about Quinn Hughes. And Nate Schmidt's been their defensive anchor so far. I think you have to just wait and see guys like um, Edler and others kind of emerge. But I also think they're a team that it wouldn't shock me if they add one more defenseman as time goes on because you have a Hamonic who's now injured. Then you have a young guy in Chatfield and Jordy Ben, who's more of a journeyman type guy that doesn't always play every single game, but he can if you want him to. That team wouldn't be surprising to me if they go out for a veteran defenseman that's on the market as the deadline nears. Because I think that's the one thing they could very much use, and then that will very much help solidify their team. Because right now, stats wise, Demko goals against average, you wouldn't think he's looked pretty good, but in terms of a save percentage, he still has a 914 in his battle through that struggling defense, and the goals against average is also subjective to your defense. So I would say he's playing pretty well, and that's been also what's been saving them a bit there.
Yeah.
So I think they'll get back. It's just going to take some time, but I think Montreal might just be the better
Yeah,
team.
I don't think tonight is the time because they're playing 4 games in 6 nights again, and
No, yeah, I don't know if the nicest time
yeah,
either. Yeah.
I think it'll be a better contest though. They play really well in front of Demko. Demko's got to be their number one right now. You don't want to see Holtby letting that many pucks in the way he's struggled off and on through his career. You really don't want. And I'm not saying it was his fault. It's just the perception, and it's a fact. He struggled, and it's you've really kind of holding your breath that he's going to be able to turn things around. Holtby hasn't been able to win you a game for quite some time, you know, where Demko can win you a game. Demko could win them a game tonight. You know, I feel confident in that. Holtby, I don't feel as confident that he's going to win you a game anymore. Back in Washington, he had that kind of swagger to him, but he doesn't seem to have it anymore. He doesn't seem to have that swagger is the best way I could put it. Uh, so yeah, and they've like you mentioned about Hamannik. That was a big loss because they really don't have all that much defensive depth. Although Chatfield has looked not too bad, he's getting better and better all the time. Uh, somebody I was watching on Sportsnet here. There was one guy comparing him to Bieksa Chatfield. Uh,
That's a good
well, it's
comparison.
that
Yeah.
style, but I don't know if he'll ever reach that. But this year, it's made me think maybe more like he might reach something close to that. He's really took a big step forward this year, which is huge for
Well, you
Vancouver.
know who's also on Sportsnet? Kevin Bieksa. So someone could just ask
Oh,
Kevin
that's what
Bieksa
it
himself.
was. That's right. They were saying that it was Kelly Rudy saying he reminds me a bit of a young Bieksa, and Bieksa was on Sportsnet at that time. That's what it was. That's what it
It's
was.
like
Right?
me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's like that old meme. Me?
Yeah,
He reminds you of me?
yeah.
Like,
But this defense has the players to play better than it is, and the overall forward system. They're young and they're trying to figure out. I think it's a team defense thing too, and they're just trying to figure out how to have that offense and also balance it with the proper amount of defense too. They're still a young team. I think they'll figure it out. Uh,
agreed.
Besser's really. Is there any more of a right now? It looks like just such a streaky player than Besser. He's either potting a hat trick or -3 for the game, right?
Yeah, I mean, this year, numbers wise, he's doing well so far, but he also has had some really big games and then other games either. So that's why his total's 11 and 12. But I would say thus far their best player, other than the rookie I really like watching in Hoglander, is probably their other second line player in Bo Horvat. I think Horvat's looked pretty good this year with
Oh
his
yeah,
11 points in 12 games and
yeah,
has looked
yeah.
more
Uh,
substantial in every game rather than sometimes looking absent in one game. So
Horvat's been their most consistent forward by far. He's been absolutely fantastic. Besides maybe Tyler Mott. Uh, Not even besides, but
yeah,
equal.
another
Tyler
surprise.
Mott has been right up there as a very good forward. Not too many others come to my mind, although if I looked on it,
Miller has 10 points this far.
yeah,
He's doing
well, he
solid,
was
but
kind of injured. Uh, Ulysses says for
yeah.
me to shout out Boogie. I just love the name right off the get go. A female who loves hockey. That sounds like if I were to roll the dice on a fourth wife, that's about what it would look like. a, a female who loves hockey named Boogie sounds exactly. Did you see the ties I wear? Does that not look like a person that would be right up my alley? That's awesome, man. She's new to your show. Well, tell her to subscribe, my friend. Okay, well, let's go to. I think that was all I wanted to mention. Hoglander, we've talked about him quite a bit. He's been great.
Thanks for spreading the word, Ulysses. We really appreciate
Yeah,
it.
thank you very much, my friend. Um, as far as Montreal, we've talked a lot about all of them. Anderson came back. That was big news because he looked like he could have been injured there, and he's back. Now everybody was holding their breath there after skipping all last year. He had an injury and he just missed one game, so that's killer. And we talked about how Defoley's just going crazy in this Montreal system right now. So we'll move on to the next game. Where we go?
Is that the Flames and Jets? That's all we
That's
have
all we
left,
have
right?
left. Yeah, Flames and Jets.
Yeah.
Um, that's going to be the matchup. That's like the coin toss matchup of the year, every game.
Every
You
game?
can just
Yeah.
pretty much flip a coin between the Jets and the Flames. They almost mirror each other as talent and team is concerned, don't you think?
Yeah, both obviously have a good goaltender now that the Jets have Markstrom. Well, not the Jets. The Flames have Markstrom and the Jets have Hellbuck. Um, and I think Kyle Connor, my friend said this last night, and I wasn't thinking about it until he said it, so I'll give my friend Zach, who used to write some stuff for Flyers Nitty Gritty, credit for this. Before he got his actual job, Kyle Connor is one of the most underrated forwards in the NHL.
Yeah. Oh,
The
yeah,
guy does
absolutely.
everything you need him to do, and he doesn't get as much recognition as anybody else. Where I think he will now because Line's
Yeah.
gone. So with Line being gone, you're going to get more focus on him as a winger because Dubois is not a winger; he's a center. So you're going to focus on him being their primary center or second line center, probably because I think they'll keep Shifley on the first line, and then you would have Connor now emerging as their best winger, along with Nikolai Ehlers, who's having a very good start to the season. You just have to hope Ehlers stays consistent because sometimes he has peaks and valleys. So that's the only thing with him. I really like him as a player, but you don't want him to go into a valley in a shorter season. So that's what you got to see there. But Kyle Connor came in and really established himself last night, and then they were obviously able, the Flames, to just keep pushing at the end. I don't know how they didn't score sooner before Mangiapane scored at the end because they were pounding them for that like 5 minute stretch, and then Mangiapane was finally able to put it in to give Calgary the lead at that time before Mark Scheifele tied it up. I don't know where Mike Scheifele came from. Um, Mark Scheifele tied it up, and then it went into a shootout. Obviously, as time went on, and Johnny Gaudreau made one of the best goalies in the NHL look absolutely ridiculous. With that move that he made, that he went through Hellbuck's 5-hole. I was watching that, and my reaction was literally just, like that was pretty much my reaction. I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, I feel bad for you, Connor Hellbuck. like, like you made a guy that just won the Vezina look absolutely ridiculous on that shootout move.
Yeah.
Um, and then he broke his stick over the
as,
net right
as far
after
as
that.
Kyle Connor is concerned, I mean, he's not going to be underrated or overlooked for long. He's an
No,
incredible player. He's going past what I thought most people even thought he would be. He looks like he could be a 40-goal scorer in this league now. He's got everything. He reminds me of a young Carter. If Carter played the wing, he's got a killer shot. Not his engine never stops. Uh, I love to watch him play. And I do like Ulysses says he likes Winnipeg in this spot. Okay, between you and me, Ulysses, I have it as a pick but I'll give it to you. I think Winnipeg will definitely do that.
yeah, he also likes the
I like the
Kings.
Kings a lot most of the time this year. I picked them to make the playoffs before the season started, and
And they're playing the
yeah,
Ducks, who can't score
yeah,
tonight. So yeah, they're going to win,
yeah.
I
They do
think.
have a lot of injuries right now that are piling up on them a bit, so that's kind of a little bit concerned.
You're right, but that's just impressed me more because it seems like they still have been able to fight through it. First of all, the Kings literally do have magic in their water because I thought this guy was going to be talented when he came in, but just didn't pan out for the Rangers. Todd McClellan is talking about Elias Anderson like he's $1 million.
Yep.
like, look, like the dude, like when he first came in the lineup, Todd McClellan basically in his press conference was like, I love how this kid plays the game. He goes to the dirty areas.
Yep.
He has a good shot. He's good at
Yep.
passing. Like Todd McClellan made sure game
Yep.
one he was in. He talked him up. And I think that's really going to do wonders for
Hey,
them.
CL, how you doing?
Having guys like him um, be able to play pretty well um, there. But I feel like the Kings, they're just a team that has to obviously figure out who entirely is going to be in the lineup and all that stuff. But I think everybody depth wise has looked pretty good as they're trying to figure out who's the stay guys to be steady guys in the lineup and who's the guys that are more taxi squad guys. They're still in the process of kind of figuring that all out. But Carl Grundstrom so far, even though he hasn't put up a lot of points, has looked pretty solid on the ice. Seems like he's a guy. And then now I think Kaliev's supposed to play tonight, if I'm not mistaken. So you'll get to see Arthur Kaliev, if I'm right on that, because of their injuries. So you get to see a guy that did very well in the World Juniors step into the plate. I think he's supposed to play on the fourth line with speaking of Elias Anderson and Arthur Kaliev and Trevor Moore, who also I really like as a bottom six player. Um, the Kings are a team I can talk about them forever, along with the Ducks and Sharks, because I cover them for OT, so I pay attention heavily to all three of those teams, which is very easy to pay attention to both of them tonight because they're playing each other. Um, so I would say the Kings are probably going to be favored in that game too, because the Ducks can't score. The Ducks are one of the most frustrating teams to watch in all of hockey. because they have talent on their team. They just can't put the damn
Well,
puck in
they don't
the
have
net.
they don't have
It's
players
just
that do that sort of thing. So it's kind of hard to have score when you don't have players to score. And
oh
not
yeah, but
only that,
160.
the worst part about that is Gibson looks like he's given up on that team, and that's the bad part about. What do I think of Sam
Yeah,
Moran at wing? I didn't really, you know what? I honestly, I know they're my favorite team, but I've been focusing on so many other teams right now that I haven't been watching enough to say. What do you think about that? What do you think? How?
well, he only played that game. I thought he looked fine. I thought he stepped in all right. They talked about it on the post game, and I saw different people's analyst tweets about it. He seemed to play well physically. He seems to be a guy that still has that defenseman quirks, which is actually probably a good thing. From the forward spot where he kind of like does that chip clear that doesn't become icing, where defensemen are pretty good at throwing that, almost like that punt, where it's like almost a hockey punt where the puck's like 800 feet in the air and then comes down in the other zone. He seems like a guy that could prevail on the wing. I have a feeling over time he'll probably end up playing defense again, and this is just a stopgap thing. But I don't know about for us, but just in general. And but I think he has looked fine on the wing, and it's always good to have that Mark Pissick ability to go from wing to defenseman if need be. So it's always nice to have that. We saw it with Sammy Kapanen, not a big guy, obviously a completely different player, but we saw it with Sammy Kapanen when he was on the Flyers as a former defenseman, moved to the wing, and then all of a sudden when we had injuries, went back to defense and was looked great and didn't have any issues. So it's nice to have that versatility for sure.
Yeah, I think they're just getting him, working him into game shape, being on the wing a little bit. He doesn't have to play as much. If he's playing defense, also on defense, you take far more abuse than on the wing, in the defensive zone. I mean, you still can take abuse in as a winger, but it's not guaranteed, and you don't have to. Not to mention, he's not going to play huge minutes on the wing there. So I think that's really what they're doing there. As far as what NHL Hockey News reports, what my thoughts on Mete last night. I had some picks in last night for our had some picks in last night for some clients, and they didn't involve worrying about a 6-1 win by Montreal, so I didn't really watch that game all that much. Um, Good for him that he gets in there. I still think, actually, Projo's got me more of a believer on Mete than I previously was. The more I watch him, the more I think he's a gamer. He's just unfortunate circumstances going on there, right, Pro Joe?
Yeah. I mean, he's a career plus. I mean, plus minus doesn't tell the whole picture, but when it's a plus 25 for your career, that's a pretty good picture. Um, and I think he's a guy that doesn't get enough credit. He's a former fourth round pick, so you know he has that mentality to work at it to make it because he wasn't a guy that was a top regarded guy when he got drafted. That's why he was a fourth round pick. He had that talent, but raw that people needed to see develop over time. And it has. I do think his future is probably elsewhere, though. He just kind of seems like the odd man out in Montreal, unfortunately for him. But I also think he's going to be in a trade pretty
Yeah,
soon. I think that's going to be the guy that's most likely traded before the deadline in Montreal.
yeah. Bergevin has said we're not trading him. Now that could be a ploy to get value as well. Like it's not a
Yeah,
good idea to say, oh yeah, we're looking at trading him. It's not a good idea, and I don't think they really want to either, because it's great to have that kind of a talent to come in this type of season when there's probably going to be injuries with the travel and all the games that are being played and stuff like that. So if they do trade him, it would probably be in a package deal to add something at the deadline or something like that. Although Mete apparently, at least the agent seems to be pushing the envelope to get him on the ice, and I don't blame him. Everybody wants to play, you know. I think Bergevin, you would be unhappy if the player didn't say anything about the fact that they're not playing, right? Like, you don't want a player that isn't bitching about not playing. So,
Yeah,
uh, it could. He said he watched the Habs games. It could have been 10-2 Habs. I saw the highlights and it was pretty like globetrotterish. Like the generals of the just fumbling the puck all over the place. It was absolutely horrific defense that Montreal was playing last night for sure. So um, yeah, maybe it's Vancouver. Maybe it's Vancouver that picks them
yeah.
up. But I think if they want to trade Mete, I don't think they have any reason to let him go. So if you want him, you're going to need to pony up at least a second round pick. I would say. I would say at least a second round pick to get him.
And Vancouver might do that with how bad their
Yeah,
defense looks.
although I don't know how much Mete's going to
Yeah.
help. That's kind of the same. I think Vancouver is really not having trouble absorbing the loss of not having Hamonic and then losing Tanev. They don't really have defensemen like that. Schultz isn't that, you know, but it's going against what I said beginning of the season. I thought they wouldn't feel the burn of losing Tanev, but apparently they are.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you just need those guys that can hit block shots and kind of just defend, and they don't have that more steady Eddie guy as much. Well, Nate Schmidt's kind of a steady defender, but he's not the same type of player. Where they need a guy that's a little bit more of a shot blocker and physical on their defense still, where Myers could be that, but he doesn't really play with that um, mentality all the time. If he
No,
wanted to, he could with his size,
yeah,
but you would have to convince him to start doing that. So.
yeah. Yeah, the physicality on the back end, it seems to be where they need to fill the gap there for sure. I can't think of anybody. I'm just pulling up their roster right now that you can say, that's the guy that can do that. Apart from the guy that we were talking about in Jalen Chatfield, that's it. I mean, Jordy Ben, but he can't be on the ice enough. He doesn't have the legs to be on the ice enough to play that kind of a role. Uh, yeah, there's a concern there for sure. They're probably going to have to look at trying to acquire somebody along the way here to get more of that into their lineup. Uh, but I imagine they were hoping they'd be able to work without it, but it doesn't look like they are able to.
Yeah, I think they'll probably figure it out over time. And if Chatfield's able to keep doing his thing and you're able to convince someone like Tyler Myers to be a little bit more physical because he has the size to do it, then that could also work out. But you would have to have a meeting with him and tell him he has to use his size a little bit more.
Yeah, now so we're going with Calgary and Winnipeg, and I watched that game, and it was just a back and forth game. The score kind of says what it was. In fact, the shots were 28-28. It was very even. It was a good game. It was fun to watch. I enjoyed it. It was good to see Goudreau having some fire in his belly again. That's what it looks like to me. Um, but there is these talk out there about Goudreau and Bennett kind of somehow indicating that they would like to move on. Now, that is pure speculation here, rumor, no factual information that I'm aware of. Like neither one of these players just came right out and said, "I'd like to go." But this just keeps on hovering over this team, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting to see what they do if they do move on or if they stay pat. We'll have to see what happens there, but they're probably likely going to rebound a little bit, but it's gonna take some time, and we just got to see what goes down.
As far as Calgary, you mean? Oh, yeah. Um, that and the talk about is Goudreau going to Philadelphia, and
Yeah.
yeah,
Harder now.
what's that?
It's harder now because everybody and their grandmother said Frost was going to be part of that trade, and
Yeah,
Frost is getting shoulder surgery.
yeah,
He wasn't going to just be the only main part of that trade, obviously, but he's going to be one of the prospects. with draft picks and so on and such forth and another prospect.
I have a hard time seeing what
Now
they're
you're
going to
probably
offer.
now you're going to have to give York. With Frost being injured, the only way you're getting Johnny Gaudreau is giving York.
Yeah, I didn't.
And the
I think Frost.
Flyers,
I think Frost going back was more fans thinking Frost is a lot better than he is and putting him in the trade to do it because they don't want to get rid of York. But when it comes right down to it, if you're getting Gaudreau, it's probably York. Yeah, and I don't know. I
yeah.
don't think I want to do that.
Well, they said the Flyers, which another thing my good friend Zach said, if they decide to move on, it seems like Myers is untouchable. Provorov's obviously untouchable, but there's been reports Fletcher pretty much just laughs at you and hangs up if you call about Phil Myers. Um, where if they're going to move anybody, even though they don't want to, I think the guy that's already in would be Sanheim.
Yeah,
And
probably.
then you might do Sanheim, Yorick, try to see if Zamula can already kind of come in to be that more defensive and also has offensive ability guy. Because York was not going to be the guy that replaced Sanheim's play style. Anyway, he's more of a great offensive puck mover, facilitates and also plays solid defense. They're not the same exact thing. Whereas Zamula is a guy that if you pair him with Myers, they both would be big and physical and kind of could be a pain in the ass for the defense if you do that for the opposing team. That I could see them moving Sanheim and doing picks, and a lot of people really love Sanheim. That if that's the case, you might be able to give up some of our other developing prospects instead of giving up York if you give up a few picks
Yeah,
in
no, I wouldn't
Sanheim just
trade.
because.
There's no way I would trade Sanheim and York. But yeah, there's
Yeah,
Sanheim plus is a good
a
start.
couple picks and maybe
They're gonna need
yeah,
a
or
they're
maybe
gonna
like
need a
With
winger
how
back.
O'Brien, yeah. Well, with how O'Brien's doing in college, you would have to wait for him a bit. But if you go by that, you could maybe say we'll throw him in there for you with picks too, and he'll be the kind of the good prospect throw in that has that extra potential over time. He's just a little bit of a slower riser, but he still seems like he's going to be a good player over time because he's doing well in college right now and a good program in Boston. So
Yeah, the Calgary doesn't have a crapload of guys coming up in their ranks either, which is a problem. I'm just looking at the roster here to see where they would go. Yeah, Sanheim definitely seems it. Probably Sanheim a first, and
maybe Jay O'Brien, and then they might look at.
yeah, there's probably several players that they would be looking at. I don't know exactly. I guess it would be like Linus Sandine or something like that. I don't know. But but
Yeah, because Sandine could play right now. So if you get Sandine, you would have a guy you could put in your lineup right now rather than O'Brien. You have to wait till he's out of college and ready to play.
but then they're looking for a winger to play in Calgary after that. So, however, their defense could use an injection like that. You never know, I guess. But I don't know. It's weird. It's a weird situation that just it won't go away. It just won't go away. That I've been hearing about Goudreau being traded now for 2 years, and he wants. I don't know if it's just the fan base. Fan base is stirring it up, but when you hear it for that long, usually there's at least something to it. Uh, so we'll see what happens. But um, when Jordy Ben was on the second pairing, yeah, Jordy Ben can't play that high up in the lineup in the top four. He's a top six guy. He's a good. He's one of those weird guys that like looks really good when he's a 5'6", and like you're saying, oh, it looks really not good when you're playing him in a top four. He's a 5'6", and that's all he is. Yeah, for sure, no doubt about that. So I guess we'll go look at some tomorrow's games. Why not? Or tonight's games. Tomorrow's games. Tonight's games.
Yeah.
What am I talking about? Okay. First off, we know that the Islanders Buffalo game is canceled because of snow, crap loads of snow. Uh,
And COVID, but it actually was COVID protocols because of the team not being able to do contact tracing because of the time they got in. You have to get in early enough so the NHL can do contact tracing. They didn't want to risk playing the game without doing contact tracing
Yeah.
because the team couldn't get into Long Island or wherever
Oh
the
yeah.
heck they're playing if they're playing at the Barclays. Um, Tonight they couldn't get in until the day of, which means they couldn't do the contact tracing the night before. So
Yeah. And then the Devils and Penguins
that
are canceled as well because of all the COVID for the Devils. So we're starting to see this crop up here now. So let's look at the Blue Jackets and Stars. And what's going to be interesting about this game is that Lion A is going to be playing tonight.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what he's able to do in his first game, especially against the Stars team that obviously has started off very good this year. But they're at home in Columbus tonight, so with Line A and that energy infused to your lineup, as you got youngsters like Texier, who I really like, playing well, as well as Bjorkstrand's playing pretty well as well, and has a pretty underrated shot that people don't realize how good of a shot that guy has. Where I think instilling Line A, that energy bump might let the black or not the Blackhawks, the Blue Jackets prevail over them tonight, but it's going to be hard because the Stars have looked like one of the better teams at 4-1-1 and have battled all season. Their goaltending, it's not going to be easy to beat them. So Ottinger looked good in his one game, and then obviously Hudobin's looked very good so far this year. But both goalies have looked good for Columbus. This is going to be a really close game, probably. And I just feel like when you add that infusion of energy from a star player coming in, that's the reason why, since I'm 50-50, I would probably lean Columbus.
Yeah. Yeah. Probably also Dallas has played a lot of hockey lately, if I remember correctly. Um, I'm just checking it up here right now. Dallas. Yeah, they played 2 games against Carolina back to back, and now they're playing Columbus. So that's 3 games in 4 nights on the road. Um, yeah, I'm probably leaning Columbus in that game as well. What I was going to look up is see what kind of funky stuff Tortorella was going to do with Line A. I imagine he's just going to chuck him up on the top line. That would be you bring in a guy that can score who just had problems with the Jets team that was playing him lower down the lineup probably as far as I'm concerned far too often. If you're Columbus, you want to make that energy use that energy right away and get him at the top line right away, right?
Yeah, yeah, I would say you're probably going to move him up there. I don't see why you would not allow him to play on the top line. It's going to be interesting to see which one of their forwards comes out for Patrick Laine. If you take out the youngster Foodie, if you take out Grigorenko, if you take out the more physical Eric Robinson, it's going to be interesting to see which one. It's probably going to be one of those
No,
three.
it's it's
Which
it's
one
none
of
of
those
all of
three
those
you end up
guys are
taking?
staying in. There's no way Foodie's coming out. But Robinson would be the one, and he's in. So I don't know if there was another injury. They were playing Cole Sherwood, and he's back out again. Oh, it's Emil Benstrom. Emil Benstrom.
Oh, is he injured
They're
now?
taking. No, they're putting him. They put him in the taxi squad. So Benstrom is the
Okay,
guy that
okay,
they're
got
taking
you,
out.
got
They're
you.
keeping Eric Robinson in, and with Miko Koivu and Grigorenko. But Lion A, they have here with Tessier and Cam Atkinson. Who
Yeah,
Tessier's
that makes sense.
looked
Texier's
really
been
good this year, hasn't
yeah, and he's been up on the top uh, pairing ever since Dubois. They benched him, and he looked good up there. And then Domi's looked okay in the second pairing. I think now with the lineup a little bit more better, and he's not going to have as much pressure now with Line A there. You might see him start to take off more.
he? Just one sec. Just
But
one
yeah,
sec, Joe.
Texier has looked really
Just one
good.
sec. Rickett, how you doing, buddy? John from Ricket Picks just came in. He probably is a workaholic. So the fact that he took 2 minutes to come in here is freaking awesome. Thanks, Ricket, for coming in. Sorry, keep on going with Tessier there, buddy. Sorry to bug into you there. I would only do,
No, you're good. I think CL will Domi pop off tonight in his first game with Line in the lineup.
he's looked too perimeter. He's looked
They're
too
probably gonna.
perimeter to me. He's not playing the Domi game
Yeah,
that you need to see him play. I've seen so far. He's never going to be a huge goal scorer, anyways. He's kind of a 20 goal guy, right?
yeah. In terms of popping off, will he be able to assist and get the? He has 3 assists so far. He'll be able to add to that total tonight, probably, especially if Dallas allows power plays. Because now that you have Line in, he's going to be able to have another guy he can set up as well. So I would say most likely, but I don't know if pop off is the term I would use. But have a good game, he probably could have. Yeah.
Yeah, I like the way he's using Jack Roslovich there with Jenner and Liam Foudy. I like that line. If Jack Roslovich, he's got to learn that in order for him to carve a niche in the NHL, he's got to play like a third line center. Now that doesn't mean he can't produce offense, but he's not in junior anymore where he can just get by with his size and his speed and play around the outside and deke guys out to score goals. This guy's got to learn how to grind, and no better person to learn that from than Boone Jenner.
Nope. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Jenner's that was perfect to put him on the. First of all, Boone Jenner. Correct me if I'm wrong, but doesn't he seem like he should be much older than 27?
Yeah, it feels like he's been in the. He
Like,
feels like some grizzled veteran, like
yeah,
36 years old, man. He's been around the league forever, it seems.
yeah. Like I remember, like I when seeing that, I'm like, wait, he's only 27. Like I was like looking at that the other day, and I'm like, wait a minute, I thought he was like almost 30 already.
Yeah,
And then I'm like, oh, he still has 3 years left until he's 30. Um, Yeah, he's a guy. He's been a good leader on the team entirely since he's pretty much got there. I think he was drafted in 2011. But he's been good since, and really is one of those hardworking, those guys you love to have in the regular season, but also need to have in the
yeah,
postseason.
yeah.
So that's really what a Boone
He's
Jenner
like a
is.
poor man's Corey Perry. Like he's that.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
makes
like
sense.
Corey Perry scored more than him, but and maybe Corey Perry now.
Yeah, he only had that 130 goal season years
Who,
ago.
Corey Perry?
Boone
Oh, Boone
Jenner.
Jenner. Boone
No,
Jenner.
Boone
Yeah,
Jenner
Boone Jenner
years
had
ago.
one
Yeah.
good scoring year, but he does everything well, and he does all the little things right. He's just a good all-around guy. He can play wing. He can play center. He's that utility knife that you just if you lose, if you have a utility knife, if you carry one, you don't think about it until you don't have it. Like Boone Jenner's like that. If he's out of the lineup, you notice it a lot. He's everything Tortorella wants everybody on his team to be.
He's similar. Yeah, it's similar to Lotz with the Flyers. You don't think about him as a big important focal point per se because you have when healthy the Couturiers, the Patrick, so on and so forth, Konechny's of the world, Giroux, Voracek, list goes on, JVR. But when Lawton's out of the lineup, you see a big downfall on the defensive end because he's one of the most consistent 200-foot guys on the team. So it's kind of one of those things. You have a guy that developed into a leader, plays a good 200-foot game, and always works harder than everybody else. You notice when those guys come out of the lineup.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. I'm just looking at their little stats. We already mentioned Delzato and how well he's played for the Columbus Blue Jackets. That's been awesome to see. Cam Atkinson needs to pick it up too. 4 points in 10 games is not enough for a guy making $6 million a year. But a guy,
Kukon's playing well again, though. Dean
Kukan, yeah,
Kukon, the
on
defender.
defense, yeah. But I think
Yeah.
I think the Lion coming in will really help Atkinson's game because now they don't teams aren't going to be able to focus on that side of the ice because really Bjorkstrand and Atkinson are both right wingers, right? So if I'm a coach, I can just focus on the right side of the ice. There isn't much on the left side that you need to worry about. Uh,
And Foodie's a right winger
yeah,
too.
and now Line, who is more of a natural right winger, plays just fine on the left side. So they could play him on the left side. I think that's going to add a dynamic to open things up for Atkinson a little bit. Um, so that should work
Yeah.
out really well. And Tessie's got 6 points in 10 games this year so far. Not bad,
Mm-hmm.
not bad at all. Again, this is a Blue Jackets team that, of course, doesn't score much, finds ways to win. But so far this year, it hasn't been the Blue Jackets team I'm used to. And you can say maybe the Dubois situation and all
No.
that, but
Yeah.
uh,
Well, we also had both of these teams used to be exactly that, and now Dallas, ever since last postseason, is all about those goals. Like ever since last postseason, they just started. It's like the money sign. It's like all about those goals, baby, because they're second in the league in goals for.
yeah,
So,
yeah, I know
that
that they're
yeah,
buying into that system that they brought in Rick Bonus for. And that's why I'm kind of fading this game completely today because I don't know what, going by last year and probably by trends, this is an under all day. But Dallas is showing that they can
agreed.
pop off goals like crazy this year at
Excuse me.
any moment. So I'm a little unsure of under on here. With Liney in the lineup, there's a big question mark of how he's going to fit in there. Usually, guys on their first game, they're energized and they pot a couple. So I'm kind of with you on Columbus on this game. Um,
Yeah, that's the reason why I'm 50-50, just because of the energy line they'll bring in. That's why I would lean them that way.
yeah. So Vancouver, we talked about the game yesterday, so I don't think there's much to talk about there, except
Mm.
that we already talked about Demko is going to be in. All I can say about this game is Vancouver better have a better showing this game because things are start things are
100%.
starting to get a little dicey there in the Canucks house, and Vancouver fans are pretty much the same as Pittsburgh Penguins fans. Uh, when things are going bad, nobody goes to the rink, but you can hear their voice outside of it for days. You know, they complain like crazy,
Or messing up the
and
city.
when things are going good, wow, the riot. I'm not going to put that on fans. That was a bunch of idiots there, and that's not even like Vancouver. Like it's really weird that happened in Vancouver. But when things are going good, they're very quiet about it. They don't just they don't say much. They go to the games and all that stuff like that. It's a very weird city, but things are looking like they're going bad in Vancouver, and things have to change there right away. So we'll see what happens there. I'm going to talk about a game that hockey geeks like us love to talk about, and that's the Hurricanes and Blackhawks because the Hurricanes have looked like machines, well-oiled machines so far this year, haven't they?
Yeah, and the Chicago obviously has been resurrected by the fact that Kevin Lankinen's one of the best little and young goalies in the league, statistically, since he came in one of the best goalies in the league. So that's been very helpful to them. It seems like they found their man. So I really like watching him. I'm definitely going to be watching this game because, like I told you in Steel yesterday, I never thought that I would be allocating time to watch Blackhawks games this year. But here we are.
Yeah.
So the the so I think these are two teams that are very exciting. Obviously, Carolina is one of the most fun teams to watch, and a guy that we actually thought Pius Sutter, that we all thought was going to be kind of that bottom sixer, just kind of in the lineup guy, has really played well this year to start. He has 5 points in 10 games, was able to pop 4 goals already, has looked pretty good on breakaways and yes, you're right. NHL hockey reports. As I'll go back to my point in a second, it is key to be very patient with goaltenders. I'm a big goalie guy, so you're never going to get me to argue anybody supporting a goaltender, unless if there's a reason why you might not want to support that goaltender. other than that. But yeah, Sutter's look good. I mean, he's a small kid. He's 5'9". He seems like he's just able to figure out how to still get to the areas you need to get into the ice, even being that small. And maybe that's actually beneficial for him because it almost looks like when I watch his game, he hides. He's able to like find a way to kind of hide behind bigger people, and then he kind of just pounces because he can't be seen since he's only 5'9", and he has some bigger people around him. So he kind of uses his size, what would usually be a disadvantage, to his
Yeah.
advantage, in my opinion, because he kind of can hide himself a little bit and then kind of pounce on it. But I've been impressed with how he's done. The kid from Zurich, Czech Republic. There we go. I think I said that right. And that's supposed to be one of the nicer places to
I think
visit.
it's Joker. Is that right? No, no, maybe it's
Is it?
not Zurich. Okay, I
I
did.
thought it was
How do you
Zurich,
spell it?
but
How do you spell it? Oh yeah,
Zurich, if
it
I'm
is
not
Zurich. It's
mistaken.
Zurich. It's
Yeah,
Zurich. Yeah, that's a major. It's a
yeah.
major city in the Czech Republic. I don't. What am I talking?
In the Czech, that's supposed to be a
Suter
beautiful city
Suter
too.
reminds me of a very poor man's Theron Fleury. They find their way.
Who? I
Very
couldn't hear.
poor man's
Theo
Theo
Fleury.
Fleury. Yeah, back in the day. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
Fleury played a lot like that, but both of them, they go to the tough areas. They find a way to get into the tough areas, but they also find a way to not take so much abuse in those tough areas. I think that's what you're saying, right? Like
Yeah,
they
exactly.
sort of
Yep.
sneak in there, and you're like, where the hell did you come from? That's-
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
yeah. Um,
I uses his size that would normally be a disadvantage at 5'9" to his advantage because he just sneaks around people.
what he said. Writing off. I think he's saying I'm writing off the Blackhawks from that win last in the rest factor. Uh, am I right? I'm writing them off because they're playing Carolina. A lot of teams I wouldn't write them off against here, but Carolina is just unless they turn into a not well-oiled machine. I think they're going to dismantle the Blackhawks in this game.
Hmm. By the way, Ulysses, he'll probably end up in Seattle next year.
Who's that?
Flurry.
Flurry? Yeah,
He'll be
that would
the
make sense
yeah. He'll
because it's
be
not far away from his. What was that? There was no. He's not from Vancouver. He's from Montreal. Yeah, Seattle would make sense
yeah.
because it would probably give him another 2 years of being a number one goaltender if his body can handle it. Because they're not going to
Hmm.
get any better than that. And he's showing in Vegas that he can still at least be a very solid 1A. You know, like have a really strong, maybe not play as much as he did in Pittsburgh, of course, but looks like he could be a very solid 1A. So that would be interesting to play two expansion teams, especially if he can make it to the finals again. He could break some records there. You took Carolina right on. That's good.
Yeah, I would do that. Yeah, that's
Let's
a good
go
one.
to the next game then. Let's see. I'm going to take a look here to see.
I might take the under in that game though because of Carolina's defense and goaltending, just as a free hint to people.
What's the mark?
I didn't even look at it. I just literally trusted the
If I
Carolina
remember, I
defense
was
and kept
six. It
blanking it
was six.
that
Oh,
much. So
by the way, Blue Jackets game. Ottinger is confirmed for that.
oh, cool. Good for him.
So
Corby
maybe
Ottinger.
I don't know. I don't really I really like Ottinger's.
Six
Yeah,
under. Yeah, I would say under
maybe I
six
don't know. Okay. Uh,
because of defense and
the
goaltending.
thing is, James Reimer,
Not
James
Chicago's
Reimer,
defense, but
Chicago could win this if Kevin, because Kevin Lankinen. Yeah, maybe you're right. The under, Lankinen's playing off the chain right now. So, yeah, that's not a bad idea. Maybe I'll have to think about that one.
undrafted
So
kid.
let's go to St. Louis, where there's going to be Darcy Kemper and not much else for the Coyotes against Jordan Bennington, who has been playing not too bad. We were a little worried about what Jordan was
Yeah,
going to be.
5-1-1.
5 1
Yeah.
and 1, yeah, not too bad. 249 and a 918. And then Darcy Kemper doing everything for the Coyotes here. The big story here, of course, and I think it was a ploy. I think they were just trying to put a fire under his ass. Uh, what's his name for the trade rumor for Dunn? Done. I don't think they're going to trade him because right after they said they were going to trade him, they started playing him 20 minutes a night again.
Yeah. Granted, that could also be. I agree with you, but also just to play the devil's advocate flip side, that could also be because if you're trying to trade somebody, it would be more beneficial to yourself to actually put him out there more so your people are seeing him rather than not.
Yeah,
But yeah, I agree with you more just to play the devil's advocate side. I figured that could also be a side of it as well.
yeah, yeah. I don't in this circumstance. I don't think they do that. They're trying to win. If you
I personally don't think they should trade
if
him though.
no, I don't. I don't think
Like
they're
you
going
said,
to.
like
I
you
don't think
said,
they're going to. I think this.
he's one of the more underrated guys in my eyes. Actually,
I
when it
just
comes
don't
to
think.
budding
I think
defensemen.
Dunn came in with a little bit of a feeling or playing like he already had a spot. You know, he kind of had that relaxed, like, oh, I made the NHL now, and he was kind of playing maybe with his head not in the game so much or with the same intensity that they're used to. And Berube just said, you know what? I talked to him a couple times. He's still not getting it out of it. So why don't we put him out there and see what we can get for him and shake this kid up a little bit? That's what I think happened here with Dunn.
Yeah,
Berube is a great coach, by the way. If I would say honestly, I love Taka
the
too.
Chief.
I love Taka too, but if I had to pick between the two, and maybe even Brindamore, I might even go Berube. I just maybe it's just because he's been my favorite, one of my favorite players of all time.
Yeah, well, you get the nickname the Chief for a
Yeah,
reason. That doesn't come
yeah,
lightly.
exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah, he was made to be a coach, even in the NHL. Like you could tell this guy's going to be a coach. Like he's great.
I didn't mind him here. He just was very raw at the
Yeah,
time. It was his first job. He was raw, but I didn't mind him.
yeah, he's just learning the ropes. Uh,
Yeah.
He's so frustrated with his New York.
Up there's our co-host in the background. If you can hear my dog a
He's
little
so
bit.
frustrated. Ulysses says he's frustrated with the New York Rangers. Yeah,
In my New York Rangers. Oh, so he is a Rangers fan. You were
yeah.
right
He
about
said
that.
that after.
Didn't you
Yeah,
say you
he's a
thought?
Rangers
Yeah.
fan. Yeah, they're. I'm thinking that maybe after Giangelo leaving, the energy will change in there. Uh, at the end of that Pittsburgh game last night, they started playing the type of game that they did when they were winning lots at the end of the season last year. So if they start playing like that, and they got to play aggressive, the New York Rangers have to play aggressive. If they don't play aggressive, it's like the Edmonton Oilers as well. Um, they got to play a game where they're going to maybe allow 2 goals a night. They got to win 4-2, 4-3, 5-2, stuff like that. If they're trying to win 2-1 games,
Yeah.
they're not going to win, New York Rangers, and neither are the Edmonton Oilers. So, yeah, it's just they haven't been playing like that.
No, that's true. Yeah.
They haven't been playing like that. And Shosturkin's looking a lot better. If Shosturkin gets rolling, then I don't know if they'll make the playoffs, but
Yeah.
they'll be a lot better than they have shown. That's for sure.
Yeah. Just don't chase a puck 6 feet out of the net.
Yeah, that was terrible. That was terrible. Look that up. If you guys want to see that on YouTube, look up the first goal for Pittsburgh last night in the Rangers game.
Or just go on NHL.com and watch the highlight. You can do that for
Yeah,
free. You don't have to pay to watch the
yeah,
highlight.
we don't have to pay
Yeah.
on YouTube either. It should be there. Shosturkin looked like
Yeah.
it was a 5-year-old kid chasing butterflies or something. It was something else. I don't know what he was thinking there. I was like, after that,
He kind of looked like Skinner that one play. That Skinner in the game he was in kind of just kept looking this direction for some reason when the puck was clearly going to come back this way. And then he was just completely out of position, still looking this direction when the puck got in and the guy tipped it into an empty net.
yeah,
But still happy that he was able to get his shining moment and get a win because I don't know how much NHL time Stuart Skinner has in the future. But
yeah. Anyways, I think Dunn is just off the top. Your head must have got rolling when you thought Dunn was going to get traded. Apparently, there was the idea that Pittsburgh was trying to trade Letang. That was going to be part of the deal. I don't know how that could possibly have worked out cap wise, but
no, I have no
seems like
idea.
it's just a big bad rumor to me. Uh, Maybe it would. There's the other thing with that is I think Dunn is up for a contract here right away too, isn't he?
I believe so, if I'm not mistaken. Hold on, let me just look him up. Done.
Yeah.
Yes, he expires after this year. He gets paid 1.875 this year, and then he's done
So,
with his
so it
contract.
might have to do with also the fact that maybe he's trying to overprice himself. That's possible.
That could
They're
be it
they're
too.
talking
Yeah.
in the background and stuff like that. But I mean, there should be a little bit of a lineup for a guy like Dunn, the Toronto Maple Leafs. He would look nice on the Toronto Maple Leafs. Winnipeg Jets, I'm sure, would be calling. We've talked about their defensive issues for a while.
Yeah.
Maybe the Buffalo
Just
Sabres.
because he also can play offense, the Ducks might want to call too, since they can't score a damn goal and they need defense also.
Yeah,
So that might kill two birds in one
the
stone.
Detroit Red Wings, Ottawa Senators. There's
Yeah.
a long list, and then of course the LA Kings always like to take defensemen and turn them into Norris caliber defensemen. So you never know with them. But yeah, I was kind of thinking about that. I thought Toronto was the best bet, but uh, that would be I don't know what I don't know. They were asking for a first round pick. That's what they were asking. So
Yeah. And yeah, most people would take a Letang, Ulysses. You're absolutely right. I think it's just what team can take his cap hit. It's not, do you want Chris Letang on the team? It's, can I very reasonably have Chris Letang on my team where it doesn't screw up other things I want to do?
oh yeah, if you're talking about if Latang was on the board, you can bet that that's talking about a rebuild. I think there's a value for Latang. I think he's making like 8.5 or something though per year. That might be a little rich at this stage of his career, but there's probably somebody out there that would take a look at him. Those kind of defensemen are not easy to find. They don't fall off the tree, that's for sure. If Latang was still available for some reason. I think he's got a no trade clause too. Yeah, he's got a no trade, no movement.
Yeah, he would have to
He would have
approve
to
it.
approve it.
Yeah.
He's making seven. Seven's okay. He's how old is he?
34,
33,
33.
and he's got a couple years. He's got value. Somebody would definitely take that. It would have to be a contender. It would have to because he's not going to say yes to anybody but a contender for sure. Uh, who that
Oh, yeah, that's for
who that
sure.
would
Yeah.
be? Just looking down the list here, not sure, but New York Islanders. But I mean, that's in division and all that stuff like that. I don't know if they'd want to do that, and then the cap room and all that stuff like that. So I don't know. Maybe there might not be as much of a market as I thought. Looking down the list here, there's not too many teams that have the cap room. I mean, they would have to send something. They would have to send something back. Philadelphia Flyers would love to have a Letang. Ooh, that would be lovely. Uh, but it would be a tough trade. St. Louis Blues, again, we just said it. I mean, maybe they go back and relook at that somewhere down the road. So I guess the next game we'll
Yeah.
look at is we'll go back after the big debacle. Is it? Do you think it's going to be another debacle here in Edmonton tonight?
Um, yeah, I don't think they're going to lose to the Senators. They only won one game. I would say they're going to play a very good game again. McDavid and Dre are probably just going to kill them again. 22, 21 points on the season thus far. They're competing against each other again for the Hart Trophy. I wonder how that works out in the locker room. Honestly, I wonder how much they mess with each other, like with the whole Hart Trophy, competing against each other for that. It's like, yeah, mark my words, I will beat you, Connor. It's like, nah, I'm gonna beat you. It's like, but yeah, they're definitely competing with each other. But at this point, obviously, I don't think Dre or Connor McDavid care about the Hart Trophy. I think they want to get to the farthest point they can get and win in the postseason now, and that's their next step. Where I feel like in order for Edmonton to do that, they're still going to have to trade for another goaltender at a certain point because Mike Smith, I didn't agree with bringing back to
Yeah.
begin with because he's an okay backup for a team that needs a backup, like a steady backup when you have a starter that you're like, okay, this is my dude. I think Mikko Koskinen's a nice 1B if you have like kind of a Carolina system where you have two guys that you can actually platoon really well, but that's not what they have. So you're overtaxing a guy that really shouldn't be a full bore one. And I don't think that's even fair to him, where that's why I don't know if it was the best. For management that normally has made sense recently, that move made
Yeah,
none.
I want to talk about Ulysses brought up a couple things. Yeah, I agree with you on Smith, by the way. Malkin, he says Malkin, Crosby, and Letang won't go anywhere. Well, let me tell you this: the Pittsburgh Penguins won't go anywhere then for the next 10 years. If they don't trade those guys, they're going nowhere. They're never going to win another. They're not going to win another cup.
Crosby won't go anywhere.
Crosby
I
might
agree
not,
with
but Malkin
Crosby.
and Letang, you could
Yeah.
probably talk them out because that team's going nowhere if they don't trade at least one of those guys, but probably two. Crosby will only go somewhere if the team is so bad that he finally goes, okay, 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 that's enough already. That's the
Yeah,
only.
yeah, like he's 36 or 37 and he wants to play for someone that actually
Yeah.
he can win another cup for you.
And Edmonton isn't worth a minus 200. No, you take it.
It'd be hilarious
You
if he
take
came
you take
here.
it on the PL.
Mm.
Ulysses, yeah, you take it on the PL. I don't think Ottawa has anything that can touch Edmonton here. There's
No,
they got nothing. That defense is absolute disaster.
unless if Tim Stutzla comes out and scores a hat
Maybe
trick.
that's about it, all they got. But I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
what are they going
yeah.
to do
Even then, they're
They
still
got
not going to
nothing to
win.
defend against McDavid and Dry.
Yeah, even then they still ain't
No,
winning.
even then they're still not winning. McDavid and Draisaitl will
Yeah,
they'll look like their defense is going to look like children out there, and they already did. They are starting Hogberg instead of Murray, so that helps. That gives them a bit of a chance. I was hoping they had Murray in there because then I'd be mortgaging the house on the over for sure. I mean, Murray is an absolute disaster this year, just brutal. Uh, so yeah, so basically, I don't think it's going to be as bad of a debacle, but what I think it's still going to be 5-1, something like that.
yeah, yeah. I would say that. I would say McDavid, Yamamoto, Draisaitl, the normal culprits of success. That was a weird way of saying that, but I guess that works. But yeah, the people that normally have success, I think they will have success and do pretty well. I think a guy like we talked about the other day. I mean, with this defense in Edmonton that's struggling with the loss of having the anchor of Cliff Bomb in. Imagine if you never traded Jeff Petrie.
Oh, that's
Yeah, like that would look really good in this defense right now, where you have Bouchard, Barry, who's all offensive, obviously more offensive, Russell, who's actually playing better than I thought, and his extension. This is his last year of his big bucks, and then next year he's only getting paid 1.2 million as the value he's really kind of at this point of his career. So that veteran presence, he seems to kind of fit into that team. So good for him that he's able to find a place that he seems to kind of fit in with the culture at this point of his career. But having Petrie, that would have done wonders for that team, especially with losing Cliff
uh,
Bomb, because they don't have that guy. Even though Cliff Bomb in most people's eyes isn't necessarily that true number one, he still is a guy that anchors your defense and also runs the first power play. So losing him was a big loss that I don't think a lot of outsiders looked at as much because of how much young defensemen they have. They thought they would kind of jump and take the reins quicker, where you can't expect that to happen when you lose a guy like Oscar Cliffbone. You can't just expect a Jones to step in at 23 or a Legeson to step in, a Ethan Bear or somebody like that, and just become the best thing since sliced bread because of like Oscar Cliff bombs out. Like, so I think Nurse is looking good. I like Darnell Nurse in the Donovan McNabb's nephew. Yeah, there we go. So I really like what he's able to do. Philly connection with Donovan there. So I do like him. I like Caleb Jones a lot too. It's just you can't expect him to take over for like some people are like, oh, this Jones kid's really going to step up and become like Cliff Bomb, and I'm like, I really like Caleb Jones, but let's like not put too much pressure on him right at the jump. He's not going to just be Oscar Cliffbaum as soon as Oscar Cliffbaum gets injured. That's just not a really realistic take in my
Yeah,
opinion.
Legason is probably going to be a 7-8 his whole career, but he fills a role not bad. Ulysses says he likes Ottawa plus
Mm-hmm.
1.5. I don't. We'll see if you're right, Ulysses, but I don't think this is going to be close. I think this is going to be a blow. No, it's going to not as bad of a blowout, but it's going to be Ottawa. Only reason why they scored as much as they did last game is because Skinner's not an NHL goaltender. Koskinen's going to be back in and
Yeah,
rested. I don't see Ottawa scoring enough. The only reason why I don't like the over is I'm not sure. I'm not sure of the over. I shouldn't say I don't like it. I'm not sure of the over as much is because I don't know if Ottawa can score enough to get it to the over against arrested Koskinen. So and then Hogberg is a better goaltender than Murray by right now by quite a bit. So, but I don't see Ottawa wants to play the same style as Edmonton, and Edmonton plays that style 10 times better than they do. So, what are they gonna do?
yeah, I don't see it being close either. I don't think this is going to be too close of a game. Now we have our Battle of California as our final game to get to.
Oh yeah, we could. Oh, Anaheim and no, L.A. Anaheim, L.A.
Yeah,
Yeah, Anaheim, L.A. I wanted to go to check out the injuries. You talk about that game, and I'll check out the injuries here for that game. I know they had a lot.
yeah. The Kings and Ducks. I think this is going to be a really good game. The Kings do have some injuries at the current moment, but it seems like they've been able to with Luff, who actually has come and looked good, and then Frick is more of a wherever you want to put him in the lineup doesn't always even start guy. But Luff was actually consistently this year before he went out after I think only playing 2 or 3 games, and then Matt Roy being injured is a big loss, obviously,
Sean Walker.
along with Sean Walker on defense. You're going to have guys step up. Cal Clegg has played pretty well
Yeah,
thus far. Curtis McDermott has played
Curtis McDermott has played pretty well.
solid. Yeah, McDermott has played solid in his games, and then in the one game he had to play in 11:32 ice time, Mark Alt, also a Philly connection, former Flyer prospect, has actually looked pretty good, but you don't want to play him much over 11, 12 minutes. But if you
Yeah,
can kind of keep him at that, he kind of seems like that solid if you have to play him fill in 7, 8 guy like we were just talking about with Legeson. He seems like he's a guy that's good to have on your roster that keeps the game simple, can hit people a little bit, and kind of do all that good stuff with a big frame at 6'4". So I like what I've seen from him as a depth defenseman. He seems like he's a guy that's good to have on your roster. And also, it's the Kings. The Kings always get the most out of their defensemen. You could pull a guy, probably a homeless guy off the street that hasn't played defense in 4 years. And then all of a sudden, they'll throw him in the lineup and he'll look like an okay, like eighth defenseman. And you'll be like, well, who the hell is this guy and where the hell did he come from?
yeah. This
So,
this
like,
roster
that's,
this roster shouldn't be doing as good as it's doing. I mean, this is just McClellan has put a system in here that they're playing very. They're playing perfectly. I love watching them play. This team competes every minute of the game, right?
yeah. Yeah. And the big thing for them is they've been able to actually pot the puck this year, where that same thing cannot be said. The leading goal scorer for the Ducks is 3 goals, and that was a Comtois who got off to a really good early start and then has tampered off since. And then Getzlaff hasn't scored yet, their captain. So I mean, they're struggling with the goals here. One of the guys that's been one of the best goal scorers is their defenseman Lindholm, who has 2 goals and assists with 3 points. So they need to start doing more there in order to have some stuff happen. As for them, they got a Goulet and Manson out along with Sonny Milano.
Yeah.
Um, so Goulet's the
Manson's
one on long term IR.
Manson's the
Yeah,
bad one there. That's a bad one for a team that
That's 6 weeks too.
yeah, for a team
It's
that's
supposed to
not
be about
overly
6 weeks.
thick in the defensive part. They're playing Ben Hutton. Good, excellent for Ben Hutton. He came back from some pretty bad injuries, and he's back in the
Mm-hmm.
NHL again. I know you're watching out there, Ben, and we're thinking about you, dude. Excellent, awesome job. Good job, sir.
Larson's
Good job.
actually impressed me too.
Larson,
Yeah, Larson.
Larson is
Yeah,
yeah. Larson is, well, he has been that solid defensive defenseman that every year gets better and better, right?
yeah, and then Yanni Hankapaa. I think I said that
No,
right. I always
yeah,
mispronounce
that's
it.
a tough one. It's Hockenpah. Yeah.
Hakanpaa, yeah, Yanni Hakanpaa, who came over from the Blues, has actually been using his size to effectiveness.
Yep.
Has been pretty solid there. Other than him, though, Shattenkirk really hasn't looked that good with the Ducks, to be quite honest.
No, and I didn't
Um,
expect him to.
and then Lindholm has the points, but still has. Granted, that might be because he's paired with Kevin Shattenkirk. They might want to fix that sometime. But he hasn't looked as squeaky clean paired with Kevin
Yeah.
Shattenkirk.
Yeah, I think even Shattenkirk, when he was offered that $3.9 million contract, went, uh, to, like his agent told him, Anaheim's offering you 3.9 for three. He was like, really? I think it was like, I wouldn't pay me 3.9 for three. All right. Yeah, I'll go wherever you want for 3.9 for three. At 30, at 32 years old, I don't know what they were thinking, honestly. I know they needed help with their power play, but
Veteran, I
sheesh.
think. Yeah,
Yeah.
power play and the fact that he's a veteran, and a lot of your guys are still not as much veterans. You have those 20-something-year-olds, not the guys that have been around the block in terms of going deep in the playoffs. Much on the Ducks defense, other than Cam
Oh, E
Foul
money.
on those teams.
E
Um,
money.
so could be a part of it.
Steele's not here, Evan. Steele is the guy with the other guy with the beard, older guy with the beard. He's not here. This is Pro Joe, Professor Joe. So I sent Steele your stuff. E Money. He's got a podcast called On the Money. He does football and hockey, and him and I have been doing stuff together from way back. I do pods with him all the time. E Money. Ottawa has scored 12 goals in the last six, so there you go. Only scoring 2 goals a game. Ottawa has been for the last six. So Steele is Seth Rogen. I don't know where you're getting that. I don't see it as much. I think Joe looks more like Seth Rogen. To tell you the
I don't know. I
honest
don't
truth.
think I really look like Seth.
Well,
I see
if I had to pick
Seth,
somebody,
yeah, Seth Rogen has an older beard. I think that's why. Like Seth Rogen's not a spring chicken, so he has that beard that looks more like developed, like Steele's. I think that might be why.
yeah. One thing is Bear's going to be out for Edmonton tonight, so Edmonton's defense is not great
Oh, he
either.
is. Yeah, that's not good.
So maybe Ottawa can pot a couple with because we already talked about how their defense is not the deepest in the world. So with Laguson's probably going to
Kevin's
be in
here.
again tonight. Oh, Kevin's here. Nice.
Yeah.
How you doing, Kevin? You're going to talk about big Islanders fan. No Islanders game for you. No Islanders game for you, sir, because you had to bring the snow for days. Where am I looking at? I'm trying to find Edmonton. Oh, there we go. Oh, Edmonton. Okay. So what are they rocking tonight for D? Not that it shouldn't matter too much against this Ottawa team, but Legason in the top four. Legason with Larson, Russell, and they're bringing in Bouchard. Evan Bouchard's going to
Kevin
get a
Bouchard.
chance
Yeah.
tonight. So Nurse, Barry,
Good for him.
Lagesson, Larson, Russell, Bouchard does not scream stopping goals too much to me.
No, but you're playing Ottawa, who also isn't the most efficient offense. Obviously, the 1-7. So I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal.
No, I don't think so either. That's why I'm leaning a little more in the over when you talk
Man.
about that, though. If you want to talk about the over there, no caps tonight. No, what happened to your caps, Evan? You freaking drove me crazy last night. I had a killer 10 banger parlay, and they were up 3-0. I wasn't even watching it anymore. Just like, hey, I already mailed it in. And then I'm talking to oh yeah, I'm talking to John last night, and I look, oh my gosh, it's 3-3, and I'm like, okay, it's gonna go into overtime. Washington will be great in overtime. Don't even make it there. Doesn't even make it, and they lose it to frickin' and Brandon Carlo. All right, you couldn't stop Brandon Carlo. Eh? Brandon Carlo, he of the 2 goals a year scores in overtime. What a freaking joke. Anyways, got that out of my system. Ottawa's
Yeah.
going to get the second win of the season tonight, Ulysses says.
Yeah, I don't see
No,
it.
I don't see it
I
either.
don't see that. I don't even see them getting their second win of the season until probably a couple games.
He
Well, I would have to look at their
he
schedule. I'm
does
going to
bring
pay
up a
attention to
good
the
point
Senators.
that the Oilers could come into this game relaxed and act like they already got it. That happens. That happens. No doubt about it. He's got a point there, but even at that, this Ottawa team is really, 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 really bad. It's like,
Yeah. So plays after this, they play Montreal twice, you guys again, Edmonton again twice, Winnipeg, and then Toronto. So yeah, I don't see them winning a second game in a while.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, they could. It could happen, I suppose, but I'm not betting on that.
Nope, me either.
Uh, the owner might have ties with Epstein. Goaltenders favor the over for the Edmonton Oilers game. Yeah. I mean, Koskinen, the one's last game for sure, that favored the over. Uh, when Skinner was in. A Koskinen that's not uh, that's healthy and Hogberg can play. It's just I don't know. I just can't see.
Their
It's
defense is not
the
good.
Ottawa's defense is just too pathetic. It's just terrible. Sens will get crushed by the Habs. Yeah, probably, probably. What else are we looking at here? We got so many people in. I don't want to leave now. It's fun. You got anywhere to go right now, Joe?
I mean, if we have other stuff to talk about, we could stay on. I don't know what else we're going to go on at this point.
I'm trying to. My thing's moving super slow. The only game we didn't. Did we talk about the Wild and Avalanche? No, we didn't, did we? We didn't.
No, no, no. We did skip
Wild and
over
Avalanche.
it.
So Wild and Avalanche. We'll talk about that and then we'll head out. Maybe we'll see. uh, Wild and Avalanche. The thing about that game is McKinnon.
As expected starters. Yeah, I
McKinnon
was
is
looking.
out.
That still says expected. Oh, he's officially out? Okay.
McKinnon is officially out. Yeah, so I don't know if I should talk about that game because I got something in there for that game. Um, Also, I think they have defensemen out too. Yes, they have. Taves is out. Grubauer's going to be in net. I want to check out the starting goaltender confirmations one more time. I can't stand the way they do this in the NHL.
Right now, it has recommended or expecting. Right now, it has expected for Talbot and expected for Grubauer.
Projected. Uh, yeah, the Winnipeg Calgary game, Rittich is going to be. Oh no, Talbot's confirmed. I got
Oh,
Talbot
it has.
confirmed.
Okay, this still has expected.
Left wing lock has Talbot confirmed. Kings Peterson's going to be playing. That'll be Peterson and Gibson. That smells like an under all day. John Cam Talbot in. I can lean Minnesota here.
We also have to remember Kevin Fiala was suspended for this game.
Yes, Kevin Fiala's out. Johansson is out. Dumba is
Yeah.
out. Dumba's hurt now. So, yeah, it's a tough one. I'm just saying that for the juice, Minnesota might not be a bad play with McKinnon not playing. That's a big. Last year, I mean, when McKinnon's out, that's a different Avalanche team, obviously, right?
Yeah, yeah. Obviously, when you have one of the league's best out, that's going to take an impact. But Minnesota having Talbot back in now definitely helps since Kokkonen really stepped in, played well while he was out. Had a 287, 903, and is only going to get better. I think having Talbot now to have that full platoon in effect is definitely going to help them as being a rising start for people. But yeah, it looks like Sheldon Dries, according to this, is going to come into the lineup as the fourth line center as a JT Comper moves up. Kadri stays on the second line, and Tyson Yost is a third line center.
Yeah.
So that's how it looks like they're going to do that. They're going to put in Sheldon Dries to replace, well, not replace, but put the B in the lineup with
Yeah, it's
McKinnon
good
out.
for Dries to get back in
And
there.
then Eric Johnson's also out. We forgot
Yeah,
about
he's
Eric
been out
Johnson.
for he was out for a bit, played a game. He's hurt a
Yeah.
lot right now. I don't know how much he's got left in him now. He's getting hurt quite on a regular basis. So I got them putting JT Compher up with Landeskog and Ranson, and that makes sense actually. And then
Yeah,
Kadri
that's what
with
this
Sod
says.
and
Yeah.
Burakovsky. And then Nichushkin with Jost and Donskoy. That's a regular team's roster right there, right? Like uh, most rosters are about what that is. Connor Dries and Sherwood. That it just shows you the depth on this roster is absolutely amazing. And then Bowen Byram, have you had a chance to watch him play since he's been put in the lineup?
Yeah, yeah, he definitely looked good, and they also put the two young guns together, and now Timmins is in the lineup too. So every young gun of or not Minnesota of Colorado is in the lineup against Minnesota. So it's going to be interesting to see how those guys play. They've obviously brought energy into the lineup since all those two came in. Because once you bring your young budding prospects in and they get an opportunity, they don't want to leave. So they're going to keep trying to prove themselves. So once someone does come back, they don't get their job back, and they're the one that keeps the job that they just took. And Byron's been very impressive. Connor Timmins hasn't been to his level, obviously, but nobody expected him to be. He's a little bit of a notch, very good defenseman. Is also looked good in the seven, a little bit over 13 minutes. So yeah, they definitely got a great future with that defense where have to worry about a guy like Eric Johnson getting injured all the time. They don't even have to worry about that.
Yeah, that's right. I
That's the
mean,
other side of it.
they've got
Yeah.
so much depth that it's unreal. Like I said, I'm not bullish on Minnesota winning this game, but I think the juice is 240. Yeah, it's if you're gonna play that because McKinnon's out and they got Talbot who's looked good in net, and Minnesota does outwork teams quite a bit. They're a very hard working team. Uh, I like going with teams like that can outwork the opposition. If there's a time to do it, I would say this is the time to do it. Uh, just my I was just gonna look at how much they played this last little while. I already looked at it before, but I forget. I think they both mirrored each other in the amount of games played lately, if I remember correctly. They both played the same amount of games. Minnesota's, yeah, six games, but most of them are six.
Well, part of that we have to remember Talbot was injured.
Yeah, Talbot's fresh. Uh,
Yeah, because Talbot was injured, so I don't know if Cox would have played the same amount of games if he wasn't injured.
yeah, that's right. I'm just saying they played six. They're playing 4 games in 6 nights, and Colorado
Yeah.
is also playing
Also,
four
Warner.
games in six
Yeah.
nights, and they played two in St. Louis, and They went from St. Louis to Colorado, where Minnesota went from Minnesota to Colorado. So both, pretty much the same, I guess. So they could be two tired teams, relatively tired teams, I suppose.
Yeah, and then tonight it looks like instead of Hunter Miska, Adam Warner is going to be their backup to Philip Grubauer, the youngster
Oh,
from Sweden, is going to be their backup tonight.
E. Sullivan said all sports network, all sports is just hockey. Yeah, we have the hockey guys do the hockey guys, the football guys do the football guys things. Yeah, we're growing more people all the time in the different sports, but yeah, we're hockey guys, so we do the hockey generally speaking. For
I'm also show, but there's no point at really kicking that into high gear right now because it's the off season. So my overall sports show that Steele and I tried to go live on last week, E Money, that you'll be able to watch on Sports Fanatic News. If you want to watch that, is going to talk about every sport. But I'm going to also start a baseball show once baseball kicks off. But I'm not going to do that in the off season. There's not enough to talk about, and I already have the all-encompassing show. I can talk about the mini show.
yeah, yeah. So, and I will be just doing hockey. Hockey's my game. It's what I love. Not that I don't love the other games, but I don't like the other games. But hockey's the one that I know, so that's what I'll be doing. But we got Peyton on the radio. He'll be doing baseball and hockey. Uh, um, off the walls only
Yeah,
hockey.
that's why I need to ask Peyton for too, because I would like Peyton to be the co-host if he wants to be, and we'll just switch off who actually hosts it if he wants to be on the baseball show, and we'll just each week we'll have a different person actually take the host role, and then the other person can take the analyst role.
Yeah, E. I sent your stuff in. Yeah, I sent stuff in for E, and we know that you can do football, so we'll see what Steele has to say about it.
And yeah, also
Yeah,
Ulysses, we just said that. That's I said I'm gonna do, but that's okay. I just said I'm gonna do a baseball show in season. Peyton on the radio will probably be the one to be, since he's into baseball, also the one that would try to get on that. And yes, there have been trades, you're right, but there's no point of starting an overall baseball show in the off season when I have my overall Sports Fanatic News sportscast that's going to start this week. It was supposed to start last week, but we had technical difficulty. That's going to have a whole baseball segment in it, and that's going to cover every small topic or big trade topic. 2-hour baseball show because I'm going to be done talking to you guys in 45 minutes with off season topics.
yeah.
So
That's Stafford for Goff trade in the NFL, though. That what that
yeah, I think that's the first time a first was traded for a first. I don't think that's like I don't know if that's happened before. 2 first overall picks being moved like that at quarterback. I don't think that's happened before.
yeah, what that was Stafford was Detroit, right?
And then
Yeah, the
Goff was the
Lions.
Rams.
The Lion Goff is going to that horrible Lions D. That's not
Mm-hmm.
going to work. How's that going to work? He can't do anything outside of the pocket. Uh, yeah, I don't know. I think at least I think
We'll have to
Stafford's going to look
see.
like the better quarterback. I don't know if he is the better quarterback, but he probably will look like.
I think
You
so.
think so?
Yeah.
You think he?
I think he will because he wanted. It seemed like he just had to be freed from being in that limbo in Detroit, and now that he is, I think he'll be able to really kind of kick it into high gear in LA and kind of really get going there. But also, yeah, E Money, you're absolutely right. And Ricketts, the 32 days normally, we don't know this year though because of the deals they're trying to work out where Manfred did, and the one deal want to start on the 28th of April for some dumb reason, rather than at the beginning because like 27 days makes a difference. Um, but we'll have to see what happens there and when it starts. But and yes, just Joseph Boric Facebook, Instagram is Boric 67. I have to look it up. I don't use Insta that much. Twitter's at JJBoric26. So if you want to find us on there, that's the social media. I think it's 6789, but I don't remember because I don't use Insta nearly as much. Social media platforms, but baseball. If you want to listen to stuff before I start my long show, just subscribe to my Sports Fanatic News channel, and I'm going to start doing short videos soon to talk about topics rather than having a 2 hour show just to discuss with you guys for 45 minutes and then have nothing else to really talk about because it's the off season and all that's happening is a couple trades that'll take about 45, 50 minutes to talk about. So
Um, and if you want to go on my Facebook, I got you. Just search my NHL Pearls of Wisdom. I got a group called My NHL Pearls of Wisdom. You can find me on there and my group, and you can go on there.
let me
So,
check what the hell my Instagram is. My Instagram is Bork6789. I did get that right. BORK6789. So that was my Instagram. I don't know how I remembered that, but there you go. That is what it is.
the Miners are getting beat up again. What? Oh, is that the Mariners?
Oh, in baseball. In baseball. He meant in baseball. I was confused
Yeah.
by that too. I thought he meant in hockey for a second. Yeah, I agree with you on that. It's going to be interesting to see if they end up starting. They're talking about maybe a month later for the minor leagues. With baseball, it'll be interesting how they do it. And Ulysses, JJ, and then Boric, BOREK, and then just the number 26 is my Twitter. Boric I already spelled for you, and then Joseph is JOSEPH, and then how I just spell my last name for you to find me on
I'm
Facebook.
trying to send it to him, but it's not letting me send it.
Um, so
There.
on
Pearlos
the money.
NHL POW is my Twitter. I just put it in there. Pearlos NHL POW is my Twitter if you want to go on.
Listen to E Money's podcast, everybody. I'm sure it's great stuff. He does great stuff, as he said. He's going to drop it in, and thank you, appreciate it. You can follow me if you DM me and want to talk Ulysses. I would suggest doing that on Twitter because I might not respond to you for about 7 months. If you DM me on Instagram, just a heads up.
Yeah,
I only look
don't
at
talk to me
groups
on
that I'm used.
Instagram. I never
Yeah,
I don't know what it is about that platform. I'm just not a huge
like
fan of it at
I
all.
don't use it as much, so I would if anyone wants to actually DM me and talk, that would be the JJ Boric 26. DM me on Twitter and we can talk about the different sports and maybe have you on in the future if you're up for being on a podcast too.
As
That
far
could
as
be
being
could
on a
have some fan.
podcast, as far as being on a podcast for Steel Flyers, I don't leave it out for anybody who wants to do that. But you have to go through. There's a process. You have to work with us. Steel is the ultimate person that says yay or nay, and yeah, that's just the way it is. So there's a
I would
process you
say
have to
you
go through.
have to do a show on our channels first,
Yeah,
meaning like our channel, not on actual Steel Flyers,
yeah,
not going on the website, and then if Steele thinks you check out from that, then you can do whatever you want for the website at that point. I would say that's probably the.
pretty much. Yeah, yeah. Same as writing or anything. If you have writing, you can send it to him.
Hey, what's
Uh,
up, Avatar? Yeah.
Avatars here. Oh, well, it's fantastic, Avi. Thanks for coming on. We got about 10 minutes. I got to get going myself. I think we'll start
Yeah, we
doing
stayed
this
on really long today.
3 hours. I think I'm going to start it at 1 to 3 from now on because it seems like right around this is the sweet spot for a couple people. They're at work and they're like, I
One
don't want
Eastern, you
to.
mean, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
Just
don't
to
want
be
to.
clear.
I don't want to work. Like they're catching them at the end of the. They can turn it on
Yeah.
and listen to
But
us.
you mean one Eastern, right? Just so we're
Yeah,
clear with everybody.
yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah, yeah,
gotcha.
yeah.
Yeah.
One Eastern till 3. Maybe the better way to go here, because we everybody comes on now and we're like, oh, gotta go. So, and I think we do. Avatar, it's awesome that you were there. I gotta go get my wife. I gotta make supper and all that kind of stuff like that. Being the
Yeah, it's
home.
also entering in the East Coast U.S. dinner time soon here too. We're almost getting towards 5 o'clock. It's 4:51. So yeah, in about 10 minutes, my spidey senses of wanting food might start tingling a little bit more. But
All right. So, anyways, thank you all for coming in. Come back here. I think I'm going to do it 1 Eastern till 3 Eastern from now on. It seems to be the sweet spot.
thank you, Ulysses.
And
You said great
oh,
material,
thank you,
guys.
Ulysses. Awesome. You guys go out there and shovel snow if you have to, and whatever else you're going to do.
We already did it.
Yeah,
Yeah, we did a power shovel. We have one of those Snow Joe shovels that they advertise that kind of push the stuff rather than having to do all the work yourself.
yeah. That's our full 42. Have a great day. Lots of love to ya.
Enjoy the hockey.